doing periodic surveys, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, see where their alumni are, how has their education, their venture-based education affected the career path that they are taking. Are they still working in their own business? Have they been employed somewhere else? So I feel like that is the best way we can track the outcomes.
Thank you very much, Engineer Marianne Maruki. But just before you drop your mic, your closing thoughts. What does success look like when government, industry, academia align around supporting venture-based curriculum? Just quickly.
For me, it's jobs created. I have worked in manufacturing, and I owned my own business. So it's the creation of jobs, which leads to creation of wealth within the country. So that is success for me, is actual jobs.
Dr. Omutaka, closing thoughts. What is that sweet spot when government, industry, and academia align? How does success look like?
Before alignment, allow me to go one step before alignment. And I want to say this, and what I was bordering on is venture-based is to contribute to, for lack of a better word, manufacturing. Is our education policy well aligned to manufacturing or industry strategy? So that we don't seem to be just trying to fit. So one of the things that I would propose is having a deeper thought so that we are able to align our education policy and manufacturing or industry strategy, so that we are well guided step by step without having to come in to try and graft in quotes to the education sector to fit into the industry sector.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mutaka. Dr. Mungai, your closing thoughts. What does success look like when the ecosystem come together as one?
I think we all share the concern of unemployment and all that. So I think there's need for all of us to align in that respect. And I think starting from the regulator, for example, we all know that what gets measured, get done. So I think the way in which both universities, faculty are evaluated should be aligned to how many jobs are you creating. And I think the area the PS said, this thing of publishing and produce. As far as the commission is evaluating on publishing, we will continue to. So I think the big change here is, can you start measuring? I don't think we shouldn't have to stop publishing, continue. But I think let's move the bar a bit ahead to production. To me, this is a big thing that can make the change.
Thank you very much, Dr. Engineer Marianne, Dr. Musaka, and Dr. Mungai. Just to remind us of my food for thought from the beginning. What is an education? What is a university education that leads to unemployment for the next 5 to 10 years for a student? We need to rethink how we deliver university education or tertiary education and see how we can also manage the expectations of our students when they graduate, to make them realize that the rangeovers will come, but it starts from maybe from the small places. And I think we have all agreed that entrepreneurship is the pathway. If entrepreneurship is the pathway, SME is the reality. And if SME is the reality, we really need to see how we can work together in coordinated ways with SMEs, not just depending on the big corporates. I think that will be the point I leave you with, so that we continue reflecting on this venture-based pathways to education. Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause once again. Thank you.
Are we taking questions? Maybe 3 questions from the audience.
Okay, let's see. We have questions. A microphone should be moving around. Oh, this is actually a group of intelligent people only, but we just have one question over there. So let's hand over the microphone. Thank you. Over there, kindly raise your hand again. Thank you. Just one question.
Thank you very much. And this is Award George from Egerton, Director Research. Very tantalizing presentations and discussions. Just one question. They say small is good and beautiful. And that is what we are focused on in Africa, about small and micro enterprises. But when you go to Europe and the North, we realize they don't have so many small and micro enterprises. That's where a majority of you have studied. The question is, in our curriculum, how do we fit it? And what lessons would we learn from the European side or the Northern side that might make us also reach where they are? Thank you.
So Mutaka, the regulator. Okay, you targeted the question to any. Okay, please go for it.
I can go for it, an attempt to what Dr. is asking, how do we fit? And I'm looking at the development in East Asia countries, which industry, the big industry grew from small cottage industries. And without just focusing on the universities, I want to focus on the TVETs. And let me call it them village polytechnics, which are at the base, at the regions and the villages. I think the small enterprises would really fit to work with the TVETs in that area, so in such a way that they will be able to enhance the skills for people to engage in ventures within their localities, so that they will not have to look for big industries which are located centrally in cities and big urban areas. So I'll look for curriculum for those TVETs more, but also for universities, where we said we come from those localities also. Somebody can identify a venture also based on the locality, even when they are based in the.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mutaka. I would also want us to look at distributed manufacturing models. It's a fantastic model that has been used in China. So maybe the days of that large manufacturing plant is not going to be our reality. But a little bit of more research around how cottage industries have been able to come together in China and supply en masse across the world is a food for thought. Is there another question?
Okay, one last one. So let's have Prof get the microphone right here. Actually, I think I'm closer.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Professor Peter Kibas from Zetech University. Interesting discussion, I must say. I've been involved in entrepreneurship education in this country for over 30 years. 1996, when we started entrepreneurship, it was seen as belonging to Juakali. It was seen as belonging to the TVET. But today, I'm happy that all the universities here and across this room are talking of entrepreneurship as the engine to develop this nation. The big question is, in all these universities, we are teaching entrepreneurship. And we are teaching it as a theory subject. We are teaching it as just any of those subjects. And I'm glad that the discussion around this table this afternoon is that how can we turn it around so there's not just another subject we passed, projects that we do, a lot of business plans that are done, mapped, and so on, but there's no change. So I think it's very important that we re-engineer our thinking. And the question is, what has been the biggest challenge from Strathmore University in the innovative approach? I think looks very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. There is a regulator next to me here, so he'll protect me subsequently. And I know where they are coming from. So I will tell you that, as you have said, and I think this cuts across not just Kenya, but many other countries. We are coming from a background of universities that are focused on academia. And so when, as you say, you introduce entrepreneurship and it requires a different model, then it takes a lot of time to change how the institutions are governed and evaluated. So as I mentioned, for example, in our practical entrepreneurship, one of the big challenges we have there is that we'd like, and we have really tried, to make sure that the evaluation of that program is purely practical. And we have the measures. We actually do it because you can ask a student, let me see your balance sheet as you begin. Let's see it at the end, customers, all this. We know how to evaluate this. We can ask investors to come and pitch. But you know, the regulation is still 40-60. You have to evaluate students 60% on academic side, not the 40%. And this is, we have engaged the regulator. We have tried to push that be changed so that you can put more weight on the evaluation side that is practical oriented. I think this is something that we all know. So if you ask me the challenge, but there is a second one, which I think is alluded to, which is from the regulator side, I think it has been said, somebody touched on it, who teaches these programs? How much experience do they have in actually running businesses? So my vice chancellor is here, so he knows this very well. So one of the things, because I teach entrepreneurship, is to ask, I want to be allowed to spend some of my time in industry. Because otherwise I'm taking theory. And I don't know how many universities open that door so that your faculty who are teaching entrepreneurship are allowed to do some time in the practice. Because otherwise it's all theory. So I think we don't just blame the regulator. There are some things that whether it's TVET, whether it is the universities, they can do to change the way we teach and what we teach. Thank you very much. I can continue, but I think these are the two.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your insights. So let's clap for them once again as they leave the stage. One group photo just before they leave. And Dr. Teresa, when you go back home, please tell your brothers and sisters that our pilau is sweeter than jollof rice. Let's just end the debate once and for all. Okay, thank you so much. One quick group photo. And as that is done, some years back, we started doing a lot of work with the British Council, primarily around the National Entrepreneurial Institutions Framework, to see if we can change this whole narrative of making our institutions a little bit dynamic and making them hubs of innovation and entrepreneurship. And just before we get the next session started, there is a small video that I want us to look and see the progress we've been making. It's good to talk about what we want for this year, but also let's see what has happened. So over to you.
Collaboration with the British Council is around building entrepreneurial capacity within universities.
We are investing energy in supporting institutions where there's likely to be high critical sources of ideas.
And we know that universities in Africa are doing lots of amazing research, but it's not getting out to the market.
We have policies, especially research and innovation policies. The way we have framed them are not in a form that can attract investment.
The research policy already looked at issues to do with the intellectual property, how you should go about doing research.
Traditionally, we have been running research for the purposes of publication. That tells you the frameworks that we have, the partners that we have, the connections that we have, the mindset that we have is still not very shifted towards commercialization and innovation.
Most of the universities had an office labeled TTO, or Technology Transfer Office, but the offices were not financed, they were not staffed, they didn't have the infrastructure.
These are structures that we do not have because they are costly. You can have such stuff, but financing it is not an easy thing.
Contextually, we are seeing the government playing less and lesser role in terms of funding universities. So the sort of entrepreneurial space is a very good opportunity for universities to take up.
We had a team that was sent here by the partner organizations, particularly working with the KeNIA. They helped us to identify gaps.
Initially, we had standalone policies, so we had to put them together and harmonize the innovation space and process within the university.
We looked at our curriculum and revised it so that we mainstream entrepreneurship, irrespective of which program you are in. There is elements of entrepreneurship which is covered in the course and also in practice.
Any course that now is ready for review, we are incorporating a unit on commercialization, innovation, and things, so that we are able to then prepare our students as they go out there to be able to be entrepreneurs.
Universities have revised, some have updated, and some have developed new policies, in relation to their master plans.
The role of the alumni we found very important for our master plan, because they are our products, and when they go out there, they get ideas, and they can come back and support certain things within the university.
We really need to engage alumni and other partners to see what can be done. The partnership is giving the university support to actually carry out some of those activities, especially those directed at enhancing innovation and commercialization.
Our master plan does talk about RISE agenda. That is research, innovation, commercialization, and extension. That I do not just do research for the fun of it, but there must be some innovative products that I can also commercialize, and for the purpose of impacting the community, that's the extension.
We want to change people's mindset that the moment you sit down to write a proposal, ask yourself, what kind of innovation am I expecting out of this research that will go out there and will transform the society?
With institutions where you've got the very sort of entrepreneurial driven vice chancellors, you do see a difference.
NIL as a network of university leaders, we have seen the fruits. We have gone through a training in these matters of innovation, commercialization, entrepreneurship, and leadership.
Through the Vice Chancellor's training program, the Entrepreneurial Leaders Training Program, ELTP, we took Vice Chancellors for an exchange program in India, and they got to see what TTOs can do in a university and the value of TTOs. So then they've come and they've started implementing within the institutions.
We have an established hub, we call it DCUT Incubation Hub, DHub, where every student can bring their ideas and we give them a maker space for nurturing the idea, developing the idea until it becomes a business.
We have incubated about 5 national projects from the National Research Fund and KeNIA.
Last year we filed 30 IPs, so we're expecting to do almost 50 for this financial year.
In terms of infrastructure, we have provided the necessary ecosystem for these innovations to thrive. In terms of funding, the council has ensured that there is funding for innovations and entrepreneurship activities.
I received an email, which I'm sure was sent to everyone, about a grant from the VC and CEO on pitching my ideas, especially on the commercialization part. I got to win the grant.
We were successful to have a funding of 3.5 million.
A world-class entrepreneurial institution shapes the global agenda on certain parameters of their specialization. Patents, startups, unicorns, solutions of public good, significant influence on policy. And that's our dream, that we move as many institutions as possible to be world-class.
I think this is a model for development that is based on equitable and mutual partnerships where both sides are benefiting, where we see how education, research, innovation can really play a part in driving economic growth and future transformation.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's clap for all the work that has gone into this. I am very happy today that we've actually moved from Stories Ajaba to Stories of Change. Did someone choose to cut my microphone? Anyway, I'm happy we've moved from Stories Ajaba to Stories of Change. And we thank all our partners who've worked with us, the FCDO, British Council, RISA, Lemeson Foundation, and all the others that have been journeying with us. So now I want us to move into the next panel discussion. And for this, we have someone who traveled all the way from South Africa, came carrying a lot of Amapiano beats, but also promised to deliver an excellent panel. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to welcome to stage Victoria Mpo Mamabolo. I hope I hacked the name. And she will introduce her panelists, and I promise you, it's going to be a good one. So let's clap for her again. She's the country technical lead for RISA, South Africa, and Ethiopia. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Pan-African. Makofi yake tafadhali tena. Over to you. Thank you.
Jambo Mabi na Mabwana.
Hatujambo sisi mabibi na mabwana.
Karibu to this session.
Ooh.
All right, I think I'm going to switch to English so that I can accommodate everybody. I don't want to show off how much Swahili I know. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this amazing session. I would like to invite the panel members to this session. I'm going to start with Ms. Grace Kamere, Mr. Natnael Shimelash, and Dr. Geron Jones. Please clap for them as they come to the stage. So this conference focuses a lot on entrepreneurship as well as innovation. And when we troubleshoot on factors that can contribute to us seeing innovation to its destined end, one of the factors we look at is, we believe that if only we can marry academia and industry, like this thing, then we got it. All we need is for the professors to stop publishing and to start speaking to industry. But you often see this misalignment where there's a triple P in academia, which is publish, PhDs, and patents. And then for industry, the focus is the bottom line. And if we have a winning formula in industry, how do we really milk it so that we definitely are ahead of the crowd? But these distinguished panelists on the stage, they will be sharing some successful models where industry and academia could actually find each other, and also be sharing what some of the lessons they've learned over the years on what to do and what not to do. So I'm going to just start by asking them to introduce themselves as well as introduce the organizations that they're from. I'm going to start with you, Nathan.
Thank you, Victoria. Hello again, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Natnael Shimelash. I am the head of the East African Biodesign Program at the University of Global Health Equity. UGHE is a young university based in Rwanda. We're purely medical school, global health university, but we, as a young university, we're not tied to the traditional silos. I'd like to think that we try to involve ourselves in everything health, at least, and work with partners from across the globe. We're trying to push entrepreneurship the mindset of entrepreneurship into our students, so future medical doctors, future health administrators, and try to see how we can solve our own problems in health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I think his probably being very humble and does not want to intimidate some of the vice chancellors here. Actually, his university is ranked second in Africa, so there's a lot you can learn from the university. All right, Grace, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Grace Kamere and I work at Circle Innovation as the head of programs and strategic partnerships. At Circle Innovation, we are an innovation catalyst, and what that means, we work at the intersection of startup support and use of the human-centered design as a methodology to support innovators come up with innovative solutions. And a pleasure to meet you all and to be here today.
Thank you. Gerard, please go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization.
Thanks very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Geraint Jones, and I work with Innovate UK, UK's innovation agency, supporting companies or organisations to grow through innovation. Various schemes are supported in the UK by Innovate UK. The one I work with is called KTPs, Knowledge Transfer Partnerships, which is a model that's worked well in the UK for 50 years now. So an innovation scheme that's been running for 50 years. And some of the countries have liked it and have looked to copy it and adapt it in their own way. So in Sweden, it's coming in Thailand. And also more recently, we had some funding, don't have any at the moment, unfortunately, but to fund African agri-food KTPs in 4 countries, including Kenya. So I support 2 of those KTP projects in Kenya at the moment.
I think let's get into it. Where now, if you can share some notable or lasting or impactful linkages that that you can share with the Ceil Summit. Perhaps there is someone that can pick up from your successful experience.
Thank you. So, working at the crux of health and innovation in a medical school has been pretty interesting. We've had the opportunity to partner with institutions that normally medical institutions wouldn't partner with, and it's the core of what we do at the Innovation Center, that we work with startups within Rwanda, but across East Africa. In many aspects, they help teach our students as well as we help them create evidence. We work with other government institutions that are involved within the health innovation ecosystem, such as the Rwandan FDA, the Kenyan Pharmacy and Poison Board, as well as the World Intellectual Property Organization that helps us with IP. I think a notable example here would be our work with the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. We approached them a year and a half ago with specific needs that we had. We looked at WIPO first and looked at, they had a WIPO Academy. They're very interested in building capacity on intellectual property, especially in Africa. So we went ahead and pinned them on that. So since then, WIPO has been an integral member of our teaching. We keep them in line with it throughout the curriculum of teaching entrepreneurship to our students. They have regular modules that they give every year for us, but our engagement with WIPO has grown since they have been hands-on in helping us develop our technology transfer policy, which we didn't have before. We're in the process of building an IP office as well at the university with WIPO's help. Continuing with that, WIPO has been really engaged in IP capacity building throughout our faculty as well. We're currently planning with them on how they can, planning and developing a module for October where they will be teaching our staff, faculty, to know more about what IP means, how it helps in commercialization, and WIPO's experience on research and IP. So far, as a young university as well, we don't have any IP that has came out of research. So trying to give that perspective as well. So WIPA has been helping in various ways since we started that partnership. Another place that we have found as a good alignment of incentives is academia loves research. We've talked about how it's, publish or perish. Research is everything in academia. And we have a lot of small startups that have the burden of evidence. They need to, create evidence to be viable, to be trustable for investors, for anyone who's listening to their pitches. And we have created a platform for small startups, healthcare startups specifically, to come to us, and we help them do their evidence generation for them. So that has been pretty successful over the past 2-3 years since we started our innovation center. We've conducted more than 5 research projects for Rwanda-based companies that are trying to create evidence around their health innovation.
Great. Not everything will stick. Similar to marriages, people don't get married to divorce. Are there some linkages that just didn't work? And what did we learn from those, the failure of those linkages not working so well?
I know it's hard to talk about your failures. As I said, we're pretty young doing this. We have had some issues even with our exemplary connection, which I mentioned as WIPO. We've had issues aligning leaderships, the two leaderships to work together. Although now we have gotten to a stage where we completely understand the values that we provide to each other. We had a gap in the first few months aligning incentives, even though, as I mentioned earlier, we looked at the needs that they have, they looked at the needs that we have, and we found alignment. But I think getting leadership together was difficult. It took some time. For a moment, we thought it wouldn't work out, and we were looking at other alternatives. But managing to do that has helped us boost the relationship. Maybe a lesson learned is also, as much as getting a ground up relationship is important, leadership is key. I don't know who exactly mentioned it earlier. It's as if we have the leadership's buy-in, then it can all be possible.
Thank you. Grace, can I pose the same question to you? If you could share a few examples of notable or impactful linkages that you facilitated over the years.
Thank you. I would like to reference the Learning and Design Labs. That is one of the programs that we are implementing with the British Council. And the Learning and Design Labs are a co-creation lab that brings together UK universities and Kenyan universities. And I've had my previous speakers in their previous panel asking how can we deliver hands-on entrepreneurial education. So the Learning and Design Lab is that platform that brings together students, and together they solve a real design challenge that is posed by an industry partner. And for the Learning and Design Lab, we had small and medium enterprises as the design challenge holders. And over the course of 2 months in a hybrid setup, the students are able to work together to provide a solution for the industry partner. And what is very unique about this partnership is the value that the students are able to derive, because they are not only solving a real design challenge, but they are also doing that in an intercultural team, because the students are divided in student teams of 5 each. So for each of the labs, we have 20 students, where 10 are UK students and 10 are Kenyan students. And the other bit is on the industry partner, where in the past, most of the time, the universities only engage such SMEs, maybe at the attachment levels, but then the Learning and Design Labs is that platform where these SMEs can provide challenges that they are facing internally, and then they are able to use the power of the students who are coming with diverse experiences, diverse perspectives to solve this challenge, and at the end provide these innovative solutions to them, and they are able to solve the pressing challenges that these SMEs are facing.
Okay. Do we have, or are there examples where some of these students go on to join some of these industry partners, or is it just a small program that starts and ends?
So we have had 3 labs in the past. We have had one with KCA University and with University of Nottingham. Then we had Rongo and Portsmouth. Then we had the last one, Strathmore and Imperial College. So out of the 3 labs, we had the first lab where the top students who provided the top solutions to Chemolex, who was one of the industry partner, engaging post-lab in a 2-month engagement where the industry partner was basically working with the students to think through how can we basically implement this solution within our company. However, what we've seen across the different labs is that, well, not all the solutions can be implemented immediately. The industry partner is able to create a plan where some of the solutions can be implemented in the short term and those that can be implemented in the long term, looking at the resource availability that they have within the organization. But one of the very most successful things, and looking at what the industry partners have been sharing, is that as we all know, the SMEs are constrained in terms of the talent, especially the technical talent that they have. And most of the times, well, these challenges are maybe affecting them in one way or another at the end. Sometimes they don't prioritize them because of the skill gap that they have. So then the labs are an opportunity to bring these students who are coming with these technical skills and who are also willing to understand what does it really take to have an entrepreneurial and innovative mindset, and use that to solve these challenges that the company is facing and provide solutions that can actually work. And the other bit is on the students. This does not happen in a silo. The students also engage very closely with the users or the communities that the industry partner is working with. So what this means is that in the course of this co-creative process, the students are able to not only speak to the industry partner to understand the challenges that they are facing, but also interface with the community, so that in the end that they are able to build something not for the community, but with the community and with the industry partner that they are working with.
Thank you for that. I just want to delve in a little bit more on that, because often your more seasoned researchers, let's say in the life sciences, their dream is to publish in Nature or publish in Cell to win that Nobel Prize. And, if that's all they get, they're ready to retire. And there's also mistrust, because now as a company, you are exposing your trade secrets to these researchers who might just want to publish the method, and you lose your competitive edge. Why did the program choose students versus your more seasoned researchers? Is it by design, or is it a case of let's take the young people?
I would say it is by design, because we are working towards to ensure that young people are exposed to platform where they can actually learn what does it take to be an entrepreneur and what does it take to be innovative. Yeah, beyond the theory that we are already studying in class. So this is a platform where the students are put to practice their creative confidence and also learn from each other in that group setting. What does it really take to be innovative, and what does it really take to solve a real challenge that is being faced? Because what we see actually in as we study is that we are given hypothetical problems in the case studies that we have as part of our lectures. So when we face real challenges, we don't know how to solve them. So what the lab does, it's very intentional to involve students so that they understand what does it really take to solve a system problem. And if I want to start my business right after, how do I know which challenge to begin with out of this very complex problem that is there?
Thank you very much. Garrett, your program is in the East, the West, and the South. What has been some of the exciting linkages that have been made over the years that you can share with us?
Okay, so I'll start off with a current example. So for KTPs, the first thing you need is a company, an organization that's looking to grow through innovation, knows where it wants to be in 7 or 8 years time, but knows there's a missing piece of the jigsaw, some technology or process to embed within the company before delivering against that business plan. Now, the company could employ someone directly to fit that hole, or with the KTP model, knowledge transfer partnership model, they team up with an academic team. They get bought out time, 10% of the academic team's time to work on the project, and someone called an associate is employed working full-time on the project. So a current example, an AA-KTP project that's currently running in Kenya, as a company, the Source Plus, who work with farmers to produce honey and honey products. And they very much like to export that all over the world. Kenyan companies can't do that at the moment for honey. There's only 2 countries in Africa, that's a bit of a quiz question for later. I understand 2 countries in Africa that can export honey worldwide. So the project is looking to analyze the honey and the honey products to prove that there's lower than a certain level of pesticide there. So hopefully Kenyan honey and honey products can be sold worldwide. Now that requires some biochemistry, it requires some Raman spectroscopy maybe, going back to nuclear magnetic resonance. So you're starting off with bees and trying to help Kenyan companies export honey products worldwide, and you're coming back to some very sort of deep science. The associate is someone who's earlier in their career. So they're not the world's experts, the academic team are the world's experts. They provide that link. And I think an important thing about KTP or other longer term partnerships, these things don't have to be one-off and transactional. So for KTP, it's typically a 2 or a 3-year project where the team is co-designing, co-delivering a project they couldn't do themselves. So I'm hoping the story in the near future will be that for this company, the Source Plus, there's a very innovative way they work with the farmers as well. They produce all of the hives sustainably from wood and work with the farmers. They have some very interesting partnership models about the proceeds of the honey. But to unlock that worldwide market, they need something that only that academic support can provide. So the company will be able to deliver against the business plan. The academic team will get publications. You work with companies, you can get better publications, you can get more publications. So it's not a question of either or. The associates, 75% or more of associates are offered positions in the companies after the KTP project. So I think, for the right partnership, for the right project, it's really covering everything this summit is about in innovation in research, in commercialization, in innovation, in employment for young people, and in growth. But you have to get the right partnership and the right project to start with, and have the infrastructure for that. So I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to learn from the African projects, but the 50-year history that we have in the UK about maybe helping to set something up in Kenya or wider across Africa.
I just went back to my old days where you studied enzymes, that enzymes they will catalyze the reaction, because one of the things they do is bring the the reagents closer to each other. Is that, would you say that's the role you play? Would these different players find themselves naturally, or do you really need to bring them together? Like, what role or what linkage what is your role in this different organizations coming together?
So my role and the role of people like me as knowledge transfer advisors is to talk to the partnerships after they've formed and after they've discussed the projects, then to help them submit the application, so to sort of manage the application process. Then we stay with the projects. So I've got 30 projects in the UK, 2 in Kenya, but 30 in the UK, where I'm part of the management team for those projects all the way through. The management team, there's someone from the company, someone from the university, in the case of AAKTP, someone from the 2 universities that are involved all the way through. But I don't by any means do most or a lot of the brokering. A lot of that comes in the UK from people who are supported by the universities to manage the inquiries that come from companies. And it might surprise you to know it's the same in the UK. The vast majority of companies, they never even think of talking to a university. So, it's saying to them, well, first of all, what are your ambitions as a company? What are your challenges? Don't worry too much about trying to solve what that is. And we'll talk to some academics about how they might be able to solve that. So I'm part of the ecosystem, but it's all the greater sum of the parts, from the people in the universities, from the program level, and from people like me who are facilitating. But it makes it much, much easier for people to bring in and to fund projects like that if everyone here is already talking, networking, and getting to know what those challenges are, what those opportunities are for the companies, and then how that can be solved. If you go to a funding agency and say, look, we've got all of that, here's some examples, there's some great things we could do, then it's much easier. So I have a role, but everyone has a role.
The program's been around for, you said this is the 50th year. Has there been any issues on IP? Obviously, the professor wants to publish, the industry wants to be a bit more competitive. Has there been a case where somebody's saying, this is my IP and I want royalties, or are we just happy to walk our separate ways once we've each received the benefits from that relationship?
There are always issues on IP. There should be issues on IP. It's something that's really, really important, and people should talk about early on. For our scheme, it's a requirement that the partners discuss and agree a collaboration agreement between them, and that collaboration agreement covers IP. At the program level, we just require that collaboration agreement is done and that it covers IP. The vast majority of agreements, any foreground IP, so IP that comes out of the project, rests with the company. Now, why would a university want to sign up to something like that when they're not getting any IP out of the project? What are they getting out? Well, because it's mostly translation of research that's previously been done, any previous IP that's necessary can be licensed. But more what the university gets out from a KTP is those publications, it's the access to data, it's the input into future teaching. So it's not for everyone, and it's not going to make you, the individual project for a KTP isn't going to make you huge amounts of money, but the collaboration and the connection afterwards, then it might do. But IP, really important. But if you need something to be done with a team, with open innovation, you need to be grown up and talk about, well, how do you carve things up? Because you can't do it on your own. You know you have to do open innovation, but really important.
very much. And we're going to be closing now. Nathaniel, would you say that there is a method that you can share that you think this is the magic bullet, this is the silver bullet, this if you do this, you have a chance of getting it right, the academia industry linkages?
Thanks, Victoria. I wouldn't say it's a silver bullet. It hasn't worked for us, but it's also contextual, I understand. One thing that we very actively do throughout our fellowship, which we run for 10 months, is once we identify a partner, we have these immediate projects that end, sessions that end, classes that end, or mentorships that end, but we intentionally and actively keep everyone in the loop. So these are unsolicited emails that go out to say, hey, the class you gave last week, now we're at this stage, what do you think? We try to, I think Grace mentioned co-designing, right? So we keep everyone within the loop, even though it might not be their specific expertise, but they have expertise in things that are broader than that. So keeping people beyond short-term projects, sending unsolicited updates to say, yo, this is us and this is where we are. We see the advantage of that, as most of our fellows, when they finish the fellowship, they have opportunities in the industry that they have worked with during the fellowship, because industry knows what they've been doing, they know what they've been up to, they have been involved in their projects, and they're happy to take them over once we finish with the fellowships. So that has been a really good way to form relationships with industry, and it makes them also interested in what we are going to do next, and try to be involved with that. So yeah.
Thank you. Grace, the programs come and go depending on the partner, like a development partner that you may be working with, and your program is not going to be there indefinitely. Would you say you're in a position to propose to government or even KeNIA to continue rolling out the program that you've been running over the last couple of years? And what are those elements that you definitely advise them to have in place so that they can emulate the successful model that you've been running?
Yeah, thank you, Victoria. What we've seen from the labs that we did last year with the 3 Kenyan universities, that is KCA, Strathmore, and Rongo University, is indeed there is a lot of goodwill within the universities to institutionalize the learning and design labs as an approach that they would like to use further to impart innovation and entrepreneurship skills to their students. So what we've seen, and I would like to give KCA University as an example, is after the lab that we had last year, they went ahead and thought about how exactly can we take these learning and design labs and embrace that design thinking methodology that the lab is anchored on. And what they had is that they incorporated that in one of the courses in their master's program, that is development finance. And also Strathmore did the same with their data analytics class. So these examples demonstrate that indeed, especially looking from the faculty point of view, that they are seeing the power of design thinking as a learning methodology to impart these skills. And what we keep encouraging, and what we've been seeing even as we've been continuing with this implementation process, is that co-design happens where there is trust. Because of these different partners that are involved, then trust is very important. And what we do, and at the very beginning of each and every learning and design labs, is set expectations with each of the partners that is participating in it, to get to understand what do they want to take out of this. And to your question on the bit of the trade secret, so how do we build trust with the industry partner and this SME that we are working with? so that they are open to sharing these challenges and also sharing some of these internal data. So we do encourage them, if they do want the students to sign non-disclosure agreements, then the students are able to sign that. And for some cases, the industry partner has been willing to have a core shared IP with the students. However, we've not had a specific case where we've gotten into the next stage of negotiating for that core shared IP. So one thing, building trust and speaking about what are the different parties' expectation, so that then you build that trust that then becomes that enabling environment for innovation to happen.
Jared, just for closing off, KTP can only reach so many organizations, and then the rest of us have to look on and salivate. But what can those universities that might not necessarily be linked or be part of your program, what are some of those things they can start to do where they can find themselves partner in the industry?
Well, I think network, encourage your staff to go out and talk to people and to make those connections. Encourage them to come to things like this, but also locally, when you're talking to companies about supporting or sponsoring student entrepreneurialism, or you see the sort of jobs that that students are going to after graduating, make sure encouraging university staff to talk to those businesses. And also, I think there's a lot of fantastic sort of technology push, and look at the new thing that we've developed. That's all fantastic, but also think about the value proposition. Think to companies to think that's a really interesting company. You might not realize I can help you. The way I can help you is by doing this. So I think explaining things not just in terms of look at all the fantastic technology I'm doing, is that interesting? Yes. Do you want to be involved with any of it? Oh, I don't know. But show you understand the business and say we've thought a little bit, and just if you can get those conversations started, then things can really take off.
Mabibi Namabuna, thank you very much for your for your attention. I hope this session was
all right. Thank you so much, Vicky. So let's clap for Vicky and team once again. I see a group photo for the panelists. So Vicky is still trying to boast in my home ground, lots of soily. But I also want to pull something that will shock you. And so that's how you say it was such an amazing panel in Koi Koi. I learned that from The Gods Must Be Crazy. So thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, kindly let's be upstanding for the next session. Yeah, it's a PE exercise, in case you didn't know. And I want to thank this panel big time for helping us unpack this big challenge of academia industry. I think it's the biggest monster, we must admit. So let's clap for them once again as they take their seats. Now, the next session is going to be very interesting, not because we are about to do a PE exercise, because we're just about to engage with some of the ventures that are actually commercializing. And to help us in this next session, I'll call Yvonne Jerry, who is the growth catalyst for our TTO as a service program. And Yvonne Jerry Tafadhali, come to stage. Let's clap for her. She's worked with these ventures for the longest, and we are happy of the results. So I know you need a handheld microphone, correct? I do. Thank you. So I leave the stage and hand you one.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all feeling? Good? Amazing? So because we're talking innovation, I'm really, really excited. I just like talking about anything to do with innovation, but I especially want you guys to welcome my panelists today with a big round of applause because they have done incredible work. So I want to invite Professor Jackson Muthengia from Embu University. Please clap for him. I'd like to invite Dr. Monica Mboro from Dedan Kimathi University of Technology. Please give her a big hand. And Dr. Paul Tanui, please come onto the stage, also from Dedan Kimathi University. Karibuni sana, because you've been sitting for long, I'm just going to take one of my very precious 20 minutes, because I only have 20 minutes. I'm going to take one of those minutes. I want you to talk to your neighbor, just discuss with your neighbor, what is your absolute most favorite innovation in your life? I can tell you mine is Netflix. Mine is Netflix. I am so glad Netflix was born. It has taken a lot of my time. What is yours? What's your absolute most interesting innovation? And I'm going to come around and ask people. Most interesting. Dr. Gutin, I'm going to come and ask you. All right?
Shazam.
Shazam! So you can know all the music that's playing. Yes, that's a very good one, very good one. Let me listen in. I must go to the table I was seated at. What's your most favorite innovation?
AI.
What a Chat GPT. Someone says Chat GPT. Wonderful, wonderful. Let me come to these back tables here.
I was going to say Chat GPT. In fact, that's what I said to her. But the other one also is M-Pesa. Who would have thought that we can transact virtually with money? Yeah.
Very true, very true. Let me hear one last one. One last interesting invention, innovation. And come to my friend.
Waterfly. Waterfly. It's a moving object that does not touch the water, but still uses the water to propel it forward. It's there.
Wow, wow, wow. All right. That was interesting. You may take your seats. Enos, what was yours? I'm just curious. You don't have any? Yes. Web 3.0. Wow. All right. You may take your seats. If my presentation could come up, please. My presentation. Okay. All right. So where would we be without innovation, right? So the reason we're here, and we're going to take the next 20 or so minutes, is just to introduce you to this amazing lecturer. So their day jobs is to impart knowledge, and then what they do is they have incredible innovations that they have managed to commercialize. So we're going to give you just a synopsis, like a sense of what that journey has been like for two reasons. One is just to encourage any one of you who is yet thinking about joining Neil and about joining TTO as a service. Hopefully by the end of this service session, it's a service, am I preaching? At the end of this session, you'll have a good reason to. And number two, if you have any amazing innovations in your institutions, and I'm pretty sure you do, this is just an inspiration, an encouragement, an affirmation to each and every one of us. So just before I ask them to share their stories, I wanted to give you just a quick overview of TTO as a service. So I think Dr. Tony in the morning, plus Professor Hutchinson, also gave a sense of what this program is about. It really is part of the network of entrepreneurial institutional leaders, research to commercialization framework. So it's a program under NEO. And the main objective is to transform academic research, move it off the shelves into the market. So we have two main objectives. One is to strengthen the technology transfer process. So again, understanding that not all institutions are at the same level, not all of them have the capacity to be able to move the research into commercialization, into impactful businesses. So we build institutional capacity, and then what we also do is to foster multi-stakeholder collaboration. I honestly believe it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to build an innovation and to commercialize it. So it takes a lot of people. Number two is support the commercialization of 3 innovations, which is these 3 for our pilot program. And what we did is we've been able to provide end-to-end commercialization support. And I'll talk a little bit about it. So the why for Teach You as a Service. So some of you might be wondering, but why do we need to do this? Why do we need to have this program? Number one is it's important for us to be able to accelerate impact. And how we do that is we've been able to bridge research and commercialization by enabling these ventures to scale. So part of my background, didn't even introduce myself, guys. I know Masila said my name, yeah? Apologies. My name is Yvonne Jerry. I am so happy to be here. And I'm the growth catalyst on Teach You as a Service. And my background is actually innovation, marketing, and commercialization. I have in the past, I'd say 25 years, so even though I believe I am young, maybe I'm not. In the past 25 years, what I've been able to do is actually grow products, new ones, big technology-based ones, banking ones, from scratch, build them, build platforms, and then enable them to grow, go to market. And I've been able to successfully commercialize across Africa and across global markets, including India as well. So if you catch me after this, I'll be able to tell you a little bit of my fun stories on my journey to commercialization. So back to TTO as a service, which is Technology Transfer Office as a service. The why behind it, we've talked about accelerating impact. There's also something about entrepreneurial mindset. A lot of these people, including the 3 who are here, are scientists by nature. How do we create that entrepreneurial business outlook? Cross-sector innovations. For Teach You as a Service for this program, we have ventures that are in food and wellness. We have one in construction and cement. And then we have one that is in waste management. And hopefully in the next cohorts, we'll have more diversity when it comes to the industries. Ecosystem strengthening, we need to build networks that nurture and sustain innovation. And finally, and this one is so close to my heart, how do we actually create real solutions to some of the problems we see, especially in Africa? I'm a firm believer that we are the ones to solve our own problems versus waiting for people to come over and solve our problems. And I like also what the PS said earlier, the CS, said earlier about we must not be net consumers of innovations. We must be the ones creating solutions. So Teach You as a Service is definitely one of those programs that enables us to solve real global solutions, Africa solutions, community solutions. So the how is this is not the only thing that the program does, but I'd say these are the main blocks. We have funding, so we have been able to give some money through the Presidential Innovation Awards to the ventures so that they can procure the equipment they need, hire the resources they need. I'm sure if you ask them, they'll say they need more money. So guys, please give them even more money so that they can scale. We've done a lot of stakeholder engagement. And what this has done is giving them opportunities to connect to the networks, connect to industries, to people who can help them. And they'll talk a bit about that. We've done venture development plans, business model canvas. It is really interesting to have them think from a business perspective, especially being scientists. We also worked on go-to-market strategies, which are really essential because you have to understand who your customers are. What kind of business models are you going for? Are you going to go for business to business, business to consumer combination? We also give them a lot of legal and IP support. And then we also give them venture builders to co-founder. This was to try and address a little bit of the issues or challenges we could see them coming up with, for example, time As I said, they're full-time lecturers, they have very busy lives. So how do they continue to grow their ventures? And that was one of them. And then visibility. So just giving them opportunities or platforms where they can showcase their innovations, come to exhibitions, come to forums such as this one. That has also been one of the how we do it. So it gives me such great pleasure to introduce the three ventures right now. So we have Cracksfox, we have Ongataki, and we have Afyalishe. And what I'm going to do is actually ask them to introduce themselves, just say their names. Although I did that a little bit, like a couple of minutes ago, but you can say your names, say what university you're from, and then just give a snippet of what your innovation is. Thank you so much. Welcome. Yeah, let's start with you, Dr. Tanui.
Thank you. Thank you. And everyone here, good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Dr. Paul Tanui from Dedan Kimathi University of Technology. It's found in Nyeri. I am a senior lecturer there teaching chemistry. So are there chemists in the house? Yes, I'm also the managing director for TVETs, which is the business arm of the university. My company is Ongataki Solutions Limited. In a nutshell, we do wastewater treatment, especially from chemical industries. And the genesis emanated from tanneries because there is serious pollution with heavy metals that finally will get to you. So we have a solution to all the industries, be it chemical, pharmaceutical, name them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tanui.
Thank you.
Yes, please, let's give him a hand. Yes.
Because I don't have to say my name, you will know it to type. I'm sure you're in a building. Just look around, and I'm sure you know it's made of concrete. And basically, because it's made of concrete, we have very high likelihood of having some cracks. Generally, if you have any building, I'm sure even in your houses or wherever, whether it's rented or whether it's your own house, either there's a leaking roof, if you have a flat roof, there's a tank, either that was made of concrete and it's leaking water. Am I talking to someone?
Yes.
You have a septic tank that is oozing out waste? Right. That's why Cracksfox exists. It's an innovation that helps you treat those cracks. We incorporate during construction, 1 packet for every 1 bag of cement, same way that you use waterproof. It prevents cracks from occurring, and as well you can use it to prevent cracks. There's some instances, I'm sure you know, you find some green wallings, or some green coloring matter developing on your wall, some white matters developing on your walls. You only need to see me so that that thing is treated. So you can call me Cracksfox or the CEO and founder Cracksfox Limited. Today I forgot to come with my samples because yesterday we got a very huge order. Even what we had packed to bring here, it's on its transit now.
Good problem, very good problem.
So I'm an associate professor of chemistry. That's why I raised my hand at the University of Embu. But beyond that, I'm the registrar academics, research and extension. And I have graduation tomorrow. So I'm waiting that you finish, I fly out. And I have my boss who has been here for a long time, Professor Kotut. Say hi to Mo University. We are waiting you back. That's me.
Thank you, Professor Mkangia. Dr. Monica.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Monica Boro. I'm a senior lecturer at Dedan Kimathi University. I'm also a food nutrition scientist. I am a director, Center for Food Safety and Naturopathy at the university, where we do research on functional foods. And that is where my startup comes in. I am the CEO and the founder of Afyalishe Wellness Limited. Afyalishe is a Swahili name meaning a healthy diet. And one of my key products is what is in front of me here. This is a probiotic immune boost made with Peruvian apple, or what you call yacon. I've used fermentation science to get a very superior product that boosts your immunity naturally. And our slogan is that you take food as medicine, because you know many Africans are taking medicine as food. That is whom I am. Thank you.
I love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. So just to give you guys a snippet of how the Teach You as a program, Teach You as a Service program has been running, I'm going to ask my dear panelists a couple of questions, and then time allowing, we might be able to take a question or two from the audience. I'll start with you, Dr. Monica. When you joined the program, how was it? And have you seen any growth or any difference for you and your venture now that you're coming to the end of the program?
Thank you for that question. I came in quite naive as a researcher with a prototype. In fact, Yvonne knows that my product at that time was in a plastic clear bottle. It was colored. In fact, they were asking me, is this methylated spirit? I was there. But what I have here in front of me looks beautiful and presentable. How I have benefited is the customer validation. They helped me define the buyer persona. That's something I didn't have in the picture. I didn't know whom am I targeting. Yeah, it's a good product, it's therapeutic, but who is the main consumer? Am I meeting their needs? And will they afford it? Will they buy it? All that, they help me in terms of branding, packaging, positioning, pricing, and even to know where the market is. And I think right now I'm very comfortable with the current situation. In fact, I can say the demand is more than the supply.
Wow, again, a very good problem. Thank you. Professor Muthenge, let me ask you the same question. How have you seen the growth of your venture since you joined TTO as a service?
Do I say that I've seen growth or I saw its establishment? So it's not been growing, but it was established. First of all, I didn't have anything. A lot of theory in my head, just like most of the lecturers and professors around here. I think the first time I was told to introduce what I would bring is an innovation. I started with the chemistry of cement. I taught her a little bit of silica, calcium, and at the end of the day, she asked me, okay, so what do you want to sell? And I'm sure you've seen how we've introduced myself, actually relating the problem to you. I've seen a lot of transformation from being just an administrator at the university, a researcher in the lab, to a business person. I can now talk about business. I can tell you today I've made over 200,000 or something close to that. I can tell you that.
Please clap for him. Unless if you've made 200,000, you don't have to clap. But if you've made 200,000 today, please clap for him.
Yep. There's so many things that I can tell you that has transformed. And I think one of the best things was also the aspects of being introduced to a co-founder. Somebody who thinks business, and I think science. Because if you ask me, the next 10 minutes, if you tell me to talk, I'll talk about science. But the guy who I work with to establish my business to wherever it is now, he talks the business aspects. I think that to me was the most important aspect that I've found here. More than that, I've been able to be introduced to meeting people who are doing business. If you ask the lecturers and professors who are here, whether they've taught business the last 1 month, let's leave Strathmore aside. The answer would be highly likely is they have met a businessman or a business lady when they're going to buy something, but not to talk about what to sell something. I have been able to be connected with businessmen who have been able to at least mold me a bit to discuss business. I don't know what else I would want in this world. Because I've told men, I'm sure he's one of them. I think we are totally supposed to make money. And we can only make money from what we know, right? So to me, TT as a service, to me, being introduced to KeNIA and the like, has introduced me to what money is from research. And I bet I know what it is. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Professor Muthenge. Dr. Tanui, what has been your experience on the program?
Yeah, thank you. Same experience. I think one, Of course, I wouldn't be here. I am used to managing research grants, and you know all that, how it goes. At least for this KeNIA support, you've been able to get introduced in the business aspects of it. And of course, the TTO-AAS being a platform where you are guided and mentored how to even spend the money, you know, how to get engaged with people that matter. For me, that has been very incredible. Of course, we've been talking about job creation. I'm happy to indicate that out of the support, we've been able to move 2 Gen Zs from the street. That is powerful. Job creation. So we are supporting the Kenyan government in that aspect
please clap
as
for
well.
him for that.
But I think far beyond that, yes, being a full-time lecturer, sometimes it can be very heavy with these other added responsibilities. So we started as 3 chemists. All of us were chemists. All of us were male. And I remember Yvonne and the team really questioning us during those information sessions. And we onboarded a business expert, and this additional person was also able to take us into the trajectory of saying, yes, this very important research, how can it be turned into a commercializable journey? We started quite a number of us, and we are happy, the 3 of us being on board. We've bonded so much, we've become friends together with KeNIA, and we are grateful. I think where we are, my company being B2B, we've been able to be introduced to the industries. We've had several trips to them, and we are happy where we are. At least those who have been onboarded as companies, getting even the trust. You know, sometimes when you introduce yourself from the university, they look at you at another eye, but KeNIA being on board, helping us to even move very closer to getting business.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. By the way, you guys, when you hear Dr. Tanui say B2B, please know this is actual progress. This is fantastic. And by the way, the TTO as a service team, I don't know if there's any one of them who are here. It just doesn't consist of myself. It's actually a fairly robust team. We have people from legal. Steve, I don't know if you're here. You can wave your hand. We have, yeah, that's Steve Omwenga. So he's also helped, and I'm going to ask you a question around legal. We have business development with Lemmy. We have a bioscientist. And of course, we have the support functions of finance, the funding piece, and the innovation and commercialization piece. So out of all those services, which one, can I ask you guys a random question, which one do you feel that you benefited from the most, that you didn't have access to in your normal day-to-day life within now the TTO as a service program? Any one of you can go. Yes, Dr. Tanui.
Thank you. For me, I would say legal.
Legal.
I think for any company, they have caused a lot of issues to look into, contracts to get engaged. I remember we quickly moved in and brought those 2 Gen Zs without considering a lot of things. But of course, with Steve coming in and guiding us through the process, we were very careful. You know, we are dealing with government resources, so you also want to make sure that you're doing things the proper way.
Yes, and you are being held accountable.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, Professor Mtengia?
I would say as well, we did enjoy a lot. We're still enjoying the legal services. We're still enjoying the business shape-up side of it. I think from academia where I was, I don't think there's anything I would have negotiated if it was not just a matter of consultancy. But I'm able to negotiate business. I'm able to look at things from a business angle, and I'm able to position myself to say, this is what I want. It's not just about what I'm earning, but it's about sustainability of the business that I look at. And all this is courtesy of what I've learned from reading.
And I dare say, Professor Mtengia, even for you, the design work, for example. I wish you guys, Dr. Monica has talked about her methylated spirit looking product, and there's nothing wrong with the product, but I think as many of you would understand, when you're talking about go-to market, it's also about packaging, how the product looks like, especially depending on who you're talking to.
Maybe you should have
Please
told
talk
them
about,
that,
talk about that.
when I started the first package. All right, I'm a man. We like saying that nowadays. But if you ask anybody, any gentleman who is seated here, how do you pack anything that looks like unga? What packet would you go for? The unga packet. That's what I did. And then when I presented it for marketing, everybody was like, "Oh, you selling unga?" But this unga is so heavy. You know how cement is. This unga is so heavy. Then it went on like that, and I'm having something that is quite presentable. I should have brought something for you. Even the design of the logo, the design of the package, what to write on the package, the instructions and all that was a real booster from the team. It's really a game changer in what we perceive from a mindset. From being a hardcore scientist, allow me to say that because I am a hardcore scientist, now to somebody who is present. I love what the head of public service said, socializing science. I don't know whether that's the term he used. But for us to be able to bring science to the community, you have to socialize it. And if you have to package your product, it has to be something presentable, right? So it's a lot, I can say.
Okay, thank you very much. And for you, Dr. Monica, is there anything, I know you recently opened 2 outlets, which is really, really commendable. Maybe you can tell us about what have you learned as well from this program?
Okay, one thing I would say is that I didn't know how to manage finances in one way or another. The little money that I had at that time, and now I've been supported fully. But they helped me develop the financial model and organize my sales and position myself in the market. And I would say, just for 1 year, because the company is 1 year old, I think I've made a revenue of more than 2 million Kenyan money, and we are expanding day by day. Another area is getting a co-founder who has been helping us to strategize on the market, to fundraise and all that. I think I'm getting a lot of help since we started up to where I am. I'm quite different. Now I'm a businesswoman. I always call myself a CEO.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. So awesome. My very last question to you guys, any one of you can take this one. This, in my view, I feel this was a successful pilot, so we need to have many more. Is there anything that you wish could be done differently? Because this is a learning, innovation is all about learning. Is there anything you wish could be done differently or could be done more for the next TTO as a service program?
Maybe I take it fast because I can see our, let's not look at him so much. I think the 6 months was short. It needs to be a bit longer. The extension from the R2C training, then now to TTOAS, it needs a little bit of being personalized. As I said, I'm a hardcore scientist, and you've done a lot of job to at least convert me a bit, but perhaps we need to model it a little bit so that it is quite personalized. I don't want to talk about funding because everybody will talk about funding. But sometimes we ask ourselves, funding for what? So there are those little small things that we may need to look at. And just to tell them, I'm going to visit State House next week. I don't know whether you are aware of that, but Tony said about it in the morning. I got 3 million I'm going to pick from State House next week.
Dr. Monica, you had something as well to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that for me, the way I understand research commercialization is where 3 circles intersect. That is the customer, the consumer need or the customer need, the specifications where we come in with our prototype, and then the actual production. Many times, many researchers have a prototype that does not meet the production technology. So you find that you want to commercialize a product, but when you get to the actual production, it's not working. So I think as researchers, this also need to be brought in the process of product development. And then finally you get a product that has a short life cycle. It dies so fast in the market. So all these things need to be considered as we proceed with this system.
Okay, thank you very much. I think our time has come to an end. That's why you're standing here, Masila, yes? All right, all right. Please acknowledge with me with a big round of applause our 3 ventures, Afya Lishe, Cracks Fox, and Ongataki. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Before you sit down, a group photo. And as that happens, some personal news to share. I'll be joining Dr. Tanui, Prof. Mudengia, and Dr. Monica next week to the State House to collect the money is just mentioned. Thank you. It's okay. I will just carry the check. Thank you so much. I want to bring on board the next session. And this is going to be an interesting one because we have someone who is doing the most moderating this session. He's called Edwin Thiongo, the Chief Executive Officer of KCK. So he will tell us what that means, and he will also introduce his panel on stage. And just to confirm whether we have the speaker, the panelist who is supposed to join us virtually. Good, we're all good, I'm told. So let's clap for Edwin Tafadhali. Thank you. So Edwin, over to you. Please go ahead and tell us what KCK means. I think you should just rebrand to KCK. Tell us what it means and introduce your panelists. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. I have the privilege of being the last one, right?
Yeah.
So we'll try to keep it short but fun. So KCK is an organization that runs as a corporate venture studio. So essentially what we do is that we build startups and ventures for corporates, currently working with some of the bigger corporates. And the whole idea is to try and rethink how we take some of the venture ideas to market. And essentially I've had a long partnership with KeNIA where we've worked on different things with them. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be moderating this panel. So our panel is supposed to be discussing alternative funding methods. And allow me to introduce my panelists. I'm told Pulkit Srivastava is joining us online. Is he online? Good, so we can give him a round of applause. I'm also going to be joined by Professor Romanas Odhiambo of Meru University, Science and Technology. As he comes, he boasts a lot of years of experience in academic research and leadership. I'm also going to be joined by Gameli Atao. I hope I pronounced that right. All right, he works with RISA, Ghana. I read from his profile, he's very passionate about the role of science and technology in engaging communities for development. And lastly, I was supposed to be joined by Professor Dixon Andala, who sent his apologies, but instead is being represented by Emmanuel Lutomia, a senior research for grants at the NRF. All right, let's give him a round of applause until he gets here. All right, gentlemen. So I just set context of what we'll be discussing, then allow us to get into it, and we'll try to be as pointed as possible so that we can cover most of the talking briefs. But the context for me is that there has always been a push between sustainability for funding and the need for us to accelerate these businesses. Over the last decade, we've seen a serious decline in equity funding, and a lot of funding is coming in the form of debt. This has created an environment that is making it harder for capital raising for ventures that are coming out of Africa. So to start, and maybe as I ask the question, you can introduce yourself, if there's something else that I've missed out, and we can get to it. What is the likely solution, Gameli, when it comes to bridging these forces we're seeing of the need to fund startups, but at the same time, keeping them sustainable, especially from a funding point of view?
Thank you very much for the question. Just to introduce myself, my name is Gameli Ajaho, and I'm from Ghana. I work with the Riser Fund. Some people are trying to give me a new name. They are calling me Kamal, so maybe you can call me that as well. So as many of you know, the Riser Fund is all about contributing to strengthening research and innovation ecosystems across Africa as well. And so within our program of work, one of our key themes is research to commercialization. And I think that you are all witnesses to the amazing results that Riser supports here in Kenya. For us to be able to build the right environment for research commercialization, access to finance is a key consideration. And in terms of access to finance, of course, we are talking about the startups and the businesses that we are supporting. How can they access financial resources or the necessary support to grow as well? But so there's the need to satisfy that demand. But in order to be able to do that, the ecosystem itself has to have financial resources available. So we also have to be thinking in terms of the supply side of financing. And how do we do that? I think it's a collective discussion from all of us rather than myself having all the solutions. But in Africa, obviously, venture capital has been seen as one of the key drivers. But venture capital oftentimes solves for financing when it comes to the seed stage, which is businesses that are growing and are looking for resources to scale. So in terms of the kind of early stage businesses that we support, I see opportunities around the institutions themselves, starting their innovation funds, of which I acknowledge that some universities in Kenya are already doing that. In Ghana, we are working on a variety of solutions. One of them is what we call the pooled funds for enterprise support organizations, where a number of ESOs come together to form a collaborative, and as part of that, they create a common pooled fund, which has a focus on one, enabling access to finance for the enterprise support organizations themselves, and two, creating funding that is also available for the startups that they support. So in the context of institutional financing, the same model can apply to, I see KeNIA is looking at creating an innovation fund, for example. So that could, the ESO pooled fund could be an analog specifically focused on tertiary institutions, and kind of like by looking at both the capabilities within the institution itself and the broader ecosystem, we can be able to address sustainable financing for the innovations coming out of universities.
Right. So, Prof, I perhaps would like to ask you, as different ventures are trying to find different ways of sustaining themselves without a lot of dependency on funding, where do you think is a place for institutions as an alternative method of funding these startups?
Thank you very much. My name is Romano Odhiambo, the Vice Chancellor, Meru University of Science and Technology. I'm a professor of statistics of JKUAT. I think the sustainable way is, first of all, to accept the reality that donors are fatigued. They are no longer able to do everything. So what I've done at Meru University is basically to look at the whole of the research ecosystem in terms of a pipeline. That research does not start with the research, it does not just start from research and end with research, but you move from research, then you go to innovations, then you go to commercialization, then you go to the community, what I call the extensions. So we have what we call the RISE pipeline. And so just to address the question you are asking me, what I told you I'm a mathematician, but what I've done in Meru University is basically to see how to address, when it comes to funding, each of those components in the pipeline. And so initial thing is, where do we get money for research? Of course, we have the donors, but they are getting fatigued. And so also as an institution, because every year we do our budget, so I have to put a budget for research in my small way. And then as we move on from research, then we go to the innovations. Then again, try to check which people do you deal with. One of our very fundamental success factors is actually the miraa infused bag, just like Kenyans who take tea, the tea bag. That the miraa, instead of chewing, is like a goat. We have put it in a way that it looks like you put it in a bag, and then you can put it in a warm water, and you have the same effect, just like you have if you are chewing the raw one. But the beauty of this is that we've already got somebody we are working with that is already trying to see how we can export this in the whole world. What I'm saying is the research was funded by the university. The product, which is the innovative product, is we are getting somebody to come and fund that. And that's what we are doing. So each of the stage, you have to diversify. Our innovation center, that is probably one of the old in public university, about 11, 12 years old. We realized we didn't have money to fund it, but we had to talk with Equity Bank, the foundations, and they funded it. And that's where all our innovative activities with our students and everything is done there. The latest we've done also is that we are starting a center for industry and skill development. And what we've done is basically to write a proposal to M-Pesa Foundation. The beauty of it, in the last almost 2 months, I think we are able to get that money to start doing that. So what I'm talking about for sustainability is don't depend on one person. Diversify your sources, go to foundations, go to philanthropies, go to everybody. In that way, we'll get a way of sustaining this. But very importantly, don't just be a beggar all the time. Also, in your limited budget that you have, also try to put this idea on it. And so don't also just budget for R, budget for the whole line, the RISE, research, innovation, commercialization, and extension, all that pathway. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. And I must say, I have seen the tea bag. I actually have it on my desk. I can't wait to try it after this.
By the way, my professor is here with the tea bags. You can try it if you are ready not to sleep in the next 2 days.
All right, let me bring in Emmanuel to the discussion. So Emmanuel, the National Research Fund, I know is doing a lot of work, but there has been a question whether we are mobilizing enough from local communities, these being high net worth individuals and corporates, to also become participants in funding some of the venture ideas coming from our ecosystem.
Thank you. My name is Emmanuel Lutomia. I work with the National Research Fund as a Senior Grants Management Officer. Coming back to your question, I think for us, there's been a gap in terms of going local. But when the question comes in on sustainability and the withdrawal of donor agencies or the reduction in donor funding, then we find ourselves in a very parallel situation, because in most times we've not been engaging the private partners back here at home. But we've seen this gap, and as NRF, I think with the current master plan on research funding that is under review, this will help shape this gap in the near future.
All right. So, and there's also something that I found quite interesting. Perhaps you can tell me whether it's the same thing you've experienced in Ghana. That by and by, we are seeing a lot more corporates trying to get into the innovation space. And we're actually having a discussion of lunch, and we're saying that if you look at predominantly what used to be the research and development budget for most corporates, it is either now non-existent, and maybe it's because the motivation for research within corporates has actually died down. But we have seen over the last couple of years a push and an interest in a lot of corporates trying to bring back a level of it. Do you feel that this kind of approach to venture building can also create the sustainable funding model that currently we are trying to approach? And you can also speak as to what's the experience in Ghana. Gameli, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so obviously when we are talking about supporting innovations, it's not just about the universities being able to carry it out all by themselves. It requires collaboration between research and industry. And increasingly, I guess also because of the changes in the global landscapes, obviously even when we had COVID, the challenge in terms of assessing supplies, the disruptions in the global supply chains, etc., show that local solutions are very important. So I think that that is probably one of the main drivers for corporate interest in research and innovation, particularly when it comes to commercialization. There's another component, I think the same thing in Ghana, because all you were talking about since morning was jobs, jobs, jobs. And you know, jobs are also, it's also a very important topic back home. And the industry oftentimes complain about graduates not being up to par. So the thinking is that supporting entrepreneurial ecosystems in institutions will help to raise the right quality of skilled graduates that can then transition into industry. And obviously the third interest, apart from trying to seek solutions and trying to assess skilled graduates, has to do with profitability. Corporate institutions want to see the solutions that can help them increase their profit margins, that can help them deliver the solutions or the results that they promise their customers. So that is why they are interested. And for them to be able to enter into partnership with institutions, they need to be able to understand the value proposition when it comes to innovation. And so one of the things that we try to do in Ghana, particularly through our work with the Ghana Research and Industry Collaborative, which is coordinated by Impact Invest in Ghana, is to identify research that businesses may be interested in. So through the industry briefs, researchers introduce the solutions that they have and how that can serve corporate interest and how they want this, how they want to partner with the researchers. So through that initial introduction, we've been able to register a number of interests from these corporate partners. And then the next thing is to identify, for example, sources of funding that can be able to drive these activities. Just like Prof was mentioning, there are a number of corporate institutions in Ghana that invest in the innovation ecosystems in our universities. Ashesi University has a lot of examples. In RISA, we work very closely with University of Ghana Business School, for example, and a private sector partner was the one responsible for setting up their entire innovation hub because he believed in they believe in the power of entrepreneurship within the institution. But then again, it's up to the institution themselves to present themselves as attractive for those types of partnerships.
All right. So allow me to bring in Apokit. And Apokit, I know you're a serial founder, and currently I know you have successfully been working on Engage Ventures. And the question I'll throw to you is one that is more on the startup side or on the venture side. And the question is as to how ventures that are trying to fundraise can actually combine funding from mainstream VC organizations or private equity organizations, at the same time balance this with partnerships from alternative funding sources such as corporate funds, corporate collaborations, and perhaps grants. I don't know what the experience has been for you, but how would that look like ideally in a perfect world? So if you're speaking, we can't hear you. You're on mute, maybe.
I think you're on mute, just confirm. Right. Maybe
Can you hear
it's-
me?
Yes. We can hear you now.
Oh, okay, well, very good. I think there's some lag, but can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Kit. Did you get the
Okay,
question?
perfect. Yes, I did get the question. Thank you. So again, apologies for not being there. I'm stuck somewhere. Listen, what a great question and how relevant it is at this time. In my experience, and you gave me a hint on in an ideal world what it would look like. In an ideal world, whenever I'm starting on a project, I always divide on what I need money for and where am I going to spend it. So you should always divide the money in what do you need in capex, what do you need in opex, what do you need in R&D, and there's different kind of capital required for different kind of things. So even when you look for grant or even when you look for VC money, each of those are keen to fund a certain aspect of a business, most likely. Sometimes it's not the case, but majority it is. So for R&D, you could look at grant money, whereas for capex, you could look for debt, and for market expansion or growth capital, you could look for VC money. So it's very important to divide your business into 4 and 5 aspects of which pool of money is required for what and where are you going to use it. On the basis of it, one should do the fundraise. And I've done that globally and I've been successful so far.
All right. Thank you very much, Kit. And maybe just as a follow-up question, what is the ideal stage at which a company or a venture can comfortably explore commercial debt?
Honestly, it's a vast question. It depends on which kind of business you're building. Some businesses you can pick up debt from day zero. Some businesses you can't, because debt is usually given by banks, and banks by definition are risk averse. So until you have collateral, you cannot, right? And you usually startups don't have collateral to give. So if you don't have collateral to give, one has to see which is the kind, once you build collateral, and what is collateral? And different banks define collateral in a different way. Is it technology? Is it IP? Is it equity which you have? But to start with commercial debt from day zero is always difficult in new age technology companies. But one can look at, once they have done the first round, they could look at venture debt along with equity. And venture debt usually comes in the form of warrants, and they de-risk the equity which comes in at that round. So I always suggest to the startups which I advise, take debt alongside equity, because once you have taken equity, it de-risks the debt. At least that's how banks look at it.
All right. Very good insights, and thank you for the book. Prof, I think to you, I always like asking these questions when they come to government setups. It's also a chance for us to send a message. What are some of the tax incentives you think that the government can put in place to perhaps accelerate universities being able to finance or self-finance some of the ventures that are coming from the commercialization activities in those universities?
Thank you very much. We got one of the investors at the commercialization stage from the US. And what he wanted was basically to give us an equipment worth over 30 million. And some of the tax that was being asked from it was so prohibitive. And I think one way in which, as a government, we can actually help innovative institutions that are coming up with these products is basically to have tax-exempt policy that allows, especially at the infancy, allows for some of these investors, when they are coming, they are given some tax rebate. I think that's very important because, again, like we have been doing some of these things just in the small lab. Now, when you want to massify, you want big equipment, and they come from outside. And some of our taxes, I think some of the highest. So I think we need to have that they are being accepted, and maybe our KRA really to allow for that.
All right. And maybe from the National Research Fund, and we've seen what has happened with dependency on grant funding, and I think the best case is what has happened with the withdrawal of USAID from across different projects. What are we doing to ensure that there is sustainability from your point of view, especially due to the lessons we're learning on what you've just mentioned about donor fatigue? How are we planning for that or mitigating against that?
Thank you. I think for where we sit and looking at sustainability of these projects, the ones we fund and the ones being funded nationally, we are looking at a situation where we'll need to somehow co-own these projects. And some of the styles that are coming in, even from the funders that are still playing within the international arena, is the co-funding aspect, where you need to co-fund. And in some cases, it is never mentioned in the proposals that are written. But the aspect of co-funding, that what you're contributing to the implementation of your project can be seen, then you are able to fast track the implementation of these projects and go on. And also, we are also urging the researchers, as Prof mentioned here, through the RISE pipeline, that there is research, innovation, commercialization, then the market aspect. But again, you find that now the community is included during the market process. It was never included at the research point of view. You find that communities end up somehow rejecting some of the products that come out from research because they were never included. And these are some of the aspects that we are urging our researchers that they include their communities, so that when some of the products come out of this research, the communities are able to accept, and hence creating a sustainability effect for the projects that were implemented earlier.
I think that's very good insight, especially to give a product that the community accepts. I think a level of involvement will be needed. And I think it's across all products we develop. I mean, a level of engaging your users prior to building the product makes it easy for us to sell it. I want to take two more questions. Then perhaps we can open up the plenary for Q&A. I think I have a few minutes. All right. 5. I'll use the 5 minutes to allow other people to ask questions. I don't have the monopoly of questions. So I want to ask a question that has been in my mind. The startup ecosystem predominantly in Africa has 4 big players, 4 or 5 sometimes, but predominantly 4. What are some of the reasons why other African countries are not able to catch up in terms of attracting foreign direct investment? And what are the lessons we can learn from the 4? And the 4 here, I think it's Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, and Nigeria. Occasionally Ghana comes in. What are some of the lessons we've learned from these 4 or 5, and that can be addressed in other places to make sure that the continent grows as a whole for integrated investment? Gameli, sorry.
Okay. Because I'm here, so you are forced to mention Ghana. I think we are very much small players. The numbers are not in our favor. What we want to push for perhaps is quality, and that can be a driver for the most part. But I think that in many of these countries where maybe there's more investment in innovation, obviously we are looking at things like the environment around the innovation is in place. So the market is a big draw because you want whatever you are producing to have a ready market. So that is key. Another factor is the talent. I guess that has some correlation to the educational system in those countries. So there's talent when it comes to innovation. All the countries you've mentioned are very talented people. Ghana has very talented people, but not as many, I would say, because of the population. So talent is another one. And then, of course, the culture. The culture of entrepreneurship and innovation is something that has to be nurtured, but of course, there are also historical explanations for certain attributes, which I think that again in all these countries, it is there. The final element, which is not always present, but it also has to do with the policy landscape. What conditions are being created in those countries that allows innovation to thrive as well. So for the most part, what other countries can learn from is either government taking the lead, as we can see in countries like Rwanda, where deliberate policies are put in place to spur entrepreneurship and innovation, or you go the Nigeria route where you have various types of movements or organizations coming together to define ABC for their sector and trying to push for investments, trying to show examples of what works, because that's the most important thing. What are the one or two good examples of what works in your context to be able to attract further support and other players coming in?
All right. So last question to Pulkit is around IP. We've discussed IP a better part of the day, but the reality in Africa is that IP registration and commercialization is not that easy because of the fragmented nature of how it looks like. But in your experience building ventures across different places in the globe, what are the lessons that African and emerging countries can actually learn in terms of commercializing IP for purposes of attracting funding?
One should be very clear that sometimes investors like IP, but what is important to understand is what is worth that IP. And if that IP is challenged, is it worth fighting for? So one should always look IP with a practical approach. It costs a lot of money. Depends which region you're filing for. If you're filing for IP for the sake of picking up funding, it doesn't necessarily work all the time. Shuttle between trade secrets. I've ran an automotive company where we manufactured electric trucks. We had, I think, 30 or 40 IPs, but we had hundreds of trade secrets. Did the IP was the core reason why we picked up money? 100% no. There are far more bigger things which play to helping in picking up money. So do what you have to do with IP, but don't give it more attention than what it deserves, is my practical advice to founders.
All right, and that's a good way to end the panel and actually ending up with something we strongly believe in, that IP that is not commercialized is not very useful. We should work towards commercialization and not protection. We'll take any questions. We have maybe one or two.
Yeah, this was interesting. There must be one or two questions. So on that side, and I saw Steven's hand up. So let's start with Steven. Someone hand over the microphone to the far corner.
Thanks, George. And thank you for the really good panel with some interesting insight. My name is Stephen Gugwa from Victoria Ventures, and we've been supporting in the R2C program, in the commercialization of some of the ventures that you've seen with the support from RISA. So we focus a lot on the access to finance, and I had just a few thoughts that I thought would be good to share in the conversation. Just recently, we did a trip to Denmark, sort of like look at the ecosystem there and ask, what makes it tick as an ecosystem. And there's a few key findings. I came with only one because there was so many that you could pick, but there was one key that I thought was important. If you look at most innovations that we get from universities, at the point where the university is sort of like searching them for the market, they're usually in TRL, 2, 3, maximum 4, where you're saying that in the lab, you've proven that something can work, but you really not then pushed it out there for commercialization. If you ask where investors come in, angels and VCs, they want to come in at TRL 5, 6, 7, and even later, right? So where you're saying that you've proven the thing, you've tried it in the market, you've maybe made a few sales, and so they're coming to accelerate that. So you naturally see there's a gap that exists between TRL 3 all the way to 5, 6, 7. Now, that gap, ideally, should be filled by grants, right? And if you look at our context across the continent, the grants we are relying on are grants which are coming from outside. Because, some of the grants we see internally from our governments, they're very minimal. Just to give you context, USAID's budget was 0.6% of the US GDP. But then when USAID sort of like pulls out all of us, we're really shaken. The whole ecosystem has been messed up. We can't get grants. Another statistic that's interesting is in Denmark, they invest 4% of their GDP into R&D, research or commercialization, innovation, that whole space. Which then means that this gap between TRL 3 all the way, the government has played a critical role in terms of being able to support their ventures to move forward. And so there's a gap there that we need to address, that we can ask angels, VCs to come in all the way down, but it's going to be challenging if we don't, come in as a country to support those ventures. Of course, the other side of this is we could ask the private sector to come in. But then the question is, why would a corporate do this? If you go back to the Denmark experience, what they've done is that they've structured their fiscal regimes, their tax policies, to encourage corporates to fill that gap, right? And so what they've done is, if you're a corporate and you give a grant which is focused on R&D, that is tax allowable. So just imagine you made a profit of, I don't know, our banks make a lot of profits, let's say 1 billion shillings. If you choose to write a check of 100 million shillings, that amount will not be taxed, right? So naturally, that encourages corporates to start thinking about giving. If you're an individual, as an angel investor, and you write a check to an early stage company, again, that amount is not taxed. So if people in the room here decide to write checks of, 500,000 shillings, at the end of the year, KRA will say that 500,000 will not tax you because you're taking risk, you're investing in innovation. So back to my lesson. The key lesson I picked from this is, I think one of the key things we need to do to address financing, if the government cannot be able to support it because of financial constraints, is to really think about this idea of fiscal regime architecture to encourage both corporates and individuals to give into that space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing the insights from Denmark and also adding on to the content for the panel. So we had a question from that side. Oh, a mic didn't arrive there. Okay, let me come carry.
Okay, my name is Lois Owusu. I'm from Ghana, and I work with the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. To add up to what Gamali said, I wanted to contribute or add up to what the government of Ghana has also done to support researchers. In recent times, the government has taken a bold decision to establish a Ghana National Research Fund and has allocated 50 million Ghana cedis, or equivalent to 4 million US Ghana cedis, into this fund. It has appointed an administrator and even a council to oversee this fund. And the purpose of the fund is to help researchers, agriculturalists, those in the STI system, and also innovators to be able to commercialize their research and also contribute to the advancement of the country. So that is what government of Ghana has done, in addition to other donor funding that we are able to access in Ghana.
Right, thank you. So, any other question? Oh, one last one. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Pauline Kariuki, the Head of Research, Development and Innovation from Nyandaro National Polytechnic, TVET. My question goes to Emmanuel, the National Research Fund. Do you have any statistics of innovations from TVET that you have supported to commercialization? Any statistic?
Such a good question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think George, but before I get to George, for National Research Fund, we are established under the STI Act of 2013, sister agency to KeNIA and Internacosti. So the mandate for NRF was to mobilize financial resources to support science, technology, and innovation. So on our end, we purposely support research projects. Whatever comes out of these projects, then it's taken up by our sister agency, KeNIA. So George, maybe you could help me to feed into this question if you have these statistics on innovation from the TVETs.
Oh, you mean George, myself? Anyway, it's fine. I think we can help unpack that. And maybe the best thing would to accept the fact that the focus for the STI agencies the last 3 or so years, especially from our side, has been mainly around supporting the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the universities, the research centers. And you might have realized that in this Ceil Summit, one of the main focus points, which was spoken to earlier by the CEO, is the fact that we are going now to be expanding into the TVETs. We've modeled this innovation support with the universities. It works. Universities are more complex than TVETs. So with TVETs, I know it should be a little bit more easier. And I hope you can hang out around more so that we can also discuss what exists and how we can leverage the current opportunities. So I think at this point, I will bring this to a close. I don't know whether, Eddie, you have additional comments to make. I know there was a question, but this was supposed to go to the earlier panel that consisting of the 3 researchers that have now moved into enterprises, and they are proudly calling themselves CEOs. And I'm also happy to mention that I'm also the CEO of my life. But before we proceed to the next steps, I would want us to clap for this panel. So please, a quick round of applause for this panel. So Eddie has just remembered something.
So for me, it's a final comment. And I always say this in every event I come to speak on behalf of KeNIA. If you look at the 3 startups that were here, when they connect to a corporate partner, most of the resources used by startups for route to market, distribution, can actually be sorted out by corporate partners. I tell you an example. If you were to take, say, the example of the startup that is doing is in the food industry. A lot of food industry businesses are actually at a place where they are driving their trucks to market with half capacity. It will then make a lot of sense with this collaboration that extra capacity can actually be taken up by a business that is looking for the same market, and therefore we can reduce the need for continuous fundraising in a market that is already too dried up. So for me to say thank you for KeNIA and Neil for this partnership, and as we said, our job is to continuously connect these ventures that are coming out with the corporate partners who are looking to solve some of these problems. So thank you very much for having us. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Thank you for for whoever is online, and thank you for making time with us, and thank you for listening to us. Santeni.
Thank you so much, Eddie and team. So let's have a group photo for Eddie and team as they exit the stage and as we usher our next set of program. So thank you so much, Eddie Makofi tena, and also to our speaker who's been joining us online. Thank you so much, Pulkit, for making time for us. I know it's been a long one coming, but asante sana. That's how we say thank you here in Mombasa. So thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, let's clap for this amazing panel. All right. So I know Eddie promised that it was going to be short and sweet, and that is exactly what it was. And he also mentioned that this is the last session. And I remembered that we actually organized a cocktail for you guys. Such a good surprise, right? Yeah? We organized a cocktail for you to continuously network. Earlier, before lunch, I mentioned that we've developed that platform that is supposed to help you connect with each other. So guys, if you haven't identified your match for the cocktail networking session today, I'm sorry, but you have some time to do that. Now, since I have planned a cocktail for you guys, and I promise it comes with a cork, not just a mock, please, I would request that you bear with us as we welcome our partners, the Riser Fund, to talk about some of the pertinent issues around commercialization of innovation. And this is supposed to be in the format of a round table. Ideally, could have been an invite only, but we've negotiated that we all be included as we pave way for the cocktail venue to be in place. So I want to announce to you where the cocktail venue is, and please promise me you won't leave the room because I'll be opening the bar. So even if you leave right now, it will be too early for you. So in short, I'm saying we are going to be spending a few more minutes here just before we break and close the day. And I want to welcome Daylene back to stage, who will take us through this last quick session. And then from there, we will break for the cocktail. So I'm getting the venue for the cocktail, but at least I know it's somewhere around the beach. How many of us have been to the beach so far? Anyone? You guys are lying. I've seen so many photos circulating around, and I have saved your contacts. You're posting yourselves everywhere. How many of us have been to the beach? I want to help us understand where the venue for the cocktail is. How many of us have been to the beach? Yeah? So there is a place called, let me see. It's called Kone. Has anyone of us heard of Kone? Yeah? How many know where Kone is? So Ian knows Kone. I don't know how he came to know about Kone. We also have a few other aunts who know where Kone is. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kone is at this side of our venue. So as you go down through the main hotel reception, you pass by the pool area. There will be some stairs that will take you down to a sandy location just by the beach. So that will be our venue for the cocktail. But before we do the cocktail, of course, we'll be doing some activation with tea at our usual place. And that will be where we will be having our session from around, say, 6:30, so an hour from now. So to pave way for that arrangement, I would like to invite Daylene back to stage. And let's arise. DJ, kuna song inaimbangwa? Na, 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 na. I don't know what's the name, but it speaks about Daylene. So if you can put that song as we arise to welcome Daylene, and also freshen up our legs, our minds kidogo for the next session. So please, DJ, this is where unacheza kama wewe.
DJ amechelewa. Awesome. Thank you so much, George, for supporting. Let's appreciate my ComC, Mr. George Masila. Good evening. How are you? Oh my goodness. So please, let's stand up a little bit. We want to stretch. And I want us to do a quick dance. Sweet melody. The chicken dance, okay? So we'll just the moves are there on the screen. Chicken dance.
Telling me what I owe you. Telling me what you wanted me to give you. My darling. What is it that they told you? Telling me how they be.
Can you project it on the Amazing, amazing. Let's appreciate ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. At least I have made professors and doctors, dance. It's good to be back on stage. Okay, so I know we've all heard that we're having a cocktail after this. So thank you so much, George, for that, because we need to really unwind. It has been a long, fully packed day one of the Ceil Summit. And a lot has taken place, and we've learned so much from each and every one of us, and even from the speakers that have been here. We've really had time to really unpack a lot when it comes to commercialization, entrepreneurial institutions and leaders summit. So right about now, I just want us to unleash and also come up with ideas and thoughts on how we can strengthen research and innovation, and how we can commercialize it with other ecosystem actors in our spaces. So majorly, I want to just open the floor for all of us to discuss further. Whether you are coming from the government, you're in the private sector, you are an entrepreneur, you are a researcher, how can we strengthen these institutions to ensure that the research work that is coming from academia is being able to be commercialized and people are benefiting from such viable ideas or innovations. And from the last session that we've had, my colleague delved deeper into understanding what are some of the obstacles, what are some of the challenges that we are facing when it comes to commercializing. Why do we have good ideas, innovations in our universities, in our TVETs, but why is it that the innovators are not making money? Is it the problem to do with the government? Is it something to do with the community? Is it something to do with the private sector? Or where is really the problem? And I want us to ponder about the whole aspect of commercialization by asking this particular question. What frameworks do we need to put in place that will guide innovation while allowing room for growth and change? What frameworks do you think we need to come up with from whichever sector you are from to ensure that there is growth and change in our universities, in the country, in the community, and wherever we are coming from? So it's an open session. Anyone can grab the mic and share 2 or 3 suggestions, and then we shall be writing them down, and we can take them back to where we've come from and implement to better our universities and to better
the idea of commercialization. So ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. Let's dig deep and understand commercialization. Anyone would want to go first? Yes, please. Just introduce your name, where you're coming from, and then you can share your ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Peter Kibas from Zetech University, as I mentioned earlier. I want to say this. The question is, what frameworks we need to put in place to ensure growth and change in our universities? What frameworks? The first thing I want to say here is the policy setup. Policy in the university, the institutions we come from. Does the policy encourage innovation? Is that policy disseminated sufficiently to change the mindset of our institutions? We've heard this morning about how the universities have been set up. Publish or perish. How do we change that setup? So it goes into a whole mindset shift. This culture must change to think about the solutions for yesterday, where students went to school, got degrees and certificates to get jobs, is no longer there. So what do we do? So we need a conversation, a setup in the university that provides a forum for open conversation, and therefore policies put in place. And that way, we should be able to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Margaret Makelo from Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, representing my Director General. I'm the Director in charge of Partnerships and Business Development. Now, KALRO was established after the realization that we needed to prudently utilize resources in research. And that brought together the Tea Research Foundation, the Sugar Research Foundation, and the Coffee Research Institute. And with KARI that time, to form KALRO, which is now about 10 years old. And one of our responsibilities was also to take a step further through what do we call this, the value chain approach to research to commercialize our research products. And we've been battling and trying to even establish a business wing of the, or for a business wing to make money, but it has never worked. We have established, like now we have the Directorate of Business Development and Partnerships. Anytime we go out to look for partners, including the universities and other organizations present in this room, it is normally at that academic level. When you start talking business, then everyone now steps aside and says that one is for a later date. And now what I'm finding unique for the university is the developer of the innovation can go ahead and commercialize and it becomes a personal business. Is that what is happening under the TTOOS? Is that the way it goes? Because for me, as a research scientist in KALRO, I'll be told that the funds used to undertake the research and the innovation is government money. And therefore, anything that comes out of that is government money. So it doesn't come to you. Again, unfortunately, in KALRO, as just the same way like the universities on IP, we are hanging on IPs that we might not even be able to take to the next level for commercialization. And I like the presentation by one of the speaker online who told us, let's not hang on IPs that might not even make sense for us to commercialize. And as we have been delving into these issues of how is KALRO going to make money for our research and other operations within the organization, as we are talking, there is a committee that was set up to see why aren't we moving forward. How I wish that they waited for this summit. Because when I go back, we might dismantle that committee and start doing something else. And what has come clearly from this is policies are not friendly to doing business as a government institution, as a government entity. So that particular aspect of policies should be the one that now we need a team to fast track and put in place so that the government moves away from looking at the little few coins by the government institutions, especially us in KALRO, to enable us do business, to generate funds, to undertake research, and commercialize the products beyond the innovation. And the other one is the mindset change, the culture change. If a professor from here comes to undertake interviews in my organization, the first thing is, why didn't you publish your own? Why didn't you write your own paper? Why didn't you fundraise to get your own funds so that you publish as a person? You hang on others. And yet here we are talking about doing research collectively with other partners so that we are able to provide solutions and therefore commercial entities. So all of us here, I think we have a responsibility to look at ourselves internally and see how best are we going to change our mindset and allow the new way of doing things. And if we go that step, then I look at it as an opportunity for KALRO as an organization to be able to commercialize. Lastly, we've been talking of not working in silos. Today, I can see a very big silo here, only having universities. But there used to be individual universities, so there's now a bigger silo of universities, but we work together. I am a product of these universities to have gone to KALRO. So where's KALRO? Where's KEFRI? Where is KEMFRI in this setup today? I pray that next time we have this summit, let's have these other partners on board so that we have a comprehensive way of looking at how to commercialize the products, even with our own lecturers or other partners in the system of commercialization of research products. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Just before I give my Professor Shauri, to also share his remarks, I would also want just to look into the first speaker who also mentioned something to do with policy. It seems like policies in Africa are a hindrance in supporting entrepreneurship growth in Africa. So in your own words, and we can be thinking about this together, what are some of the policies do you suggest? Or if you are in government, for instance, what is it that government can do to come up with very reliable and very relevant policies that will enhance and support entrepreneurship growth in Africa? So that is something that you can think about. And if you are in government, please, you can also shed some light on what government is doing to support commercialization, to support entrepreneurship activities in Africa. Because I think policy has really come out to be a hindrance in supporting the growth or in commercializing some of the research that is coming from our universities. So let me now hand it over to Professor Shauri for your instance.
Asante sana kwa nafasi hii. Pia tuko Mombasa, lazima pia tuongee Kimombasa. Kwanza nitoe shukurani kwa kupata hii nafasi ya kuongea. Pili, nijivunie Darling kwa sababu alipitia katika mikono yetu tukimfunza, naona amefanya kazi nzuri kuanzia asubuhi. Lakini nataka niseme hivi, hii shida tunaizungumza ilianzia mbali. Tulipozaliwa, oh, you want English? The others who are floating, okay. There are some Ghanaians and South Africans. Thank you very much. When we were born, we were not aware of anything. There's some process that made us who we are. And that process, I've had the PS and the head of public service mentioning socialization. We were socialized, right from the family, right from the friends we interacted with, through school, through university, in the church. Everyone was telling us what to do to get a job. We are here discussing about the same process. For us to be successful, the model for me will be to resocialize us. It will be to cross-pollinate all those agents of socialization so that they can be able to work with us on a different journey, not the journey that we are used to. A journey of innovation, a journey of research, a journey of relying on data and making decisions based on data, not based on our emotions. If we don't resocialize ourselves, we'll be singing to ourselves. And when we talk of the silos, then definitely, as I support the previous speaker, definitely we need to bring all these other agents. The church must preach innovation. The schools must preach innovation. When we meet as colleagues, we must preach innovation. As lecturers, we should move away now from publish or perish, but also move to another direction. For those who develop curriculum promotion criteria, we should also resocialize our promotion criteria to recognize also innovations, to recognize also, commercialization of the products that researchers are producing. So that there is that clear, deep understanding of how we transform our mindset and radicalize ourselves towards this new necessity. Because it is a necessity now for the world to move forward, or for the country even to uplift itself from the challenges of unemployment and wealth creation and poverty. I think this is where it should all begin and it should all end. I tell my students, imagine if you can innovate one innovation, you can forget working for the rest of your life. If you innovate something significant, you can just do it once and just sit and collect your check. As money comes, you just play golf. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, when you innovate, you become wealthy and you can live a good life, I think, for the rest of your life, which is very, very key. Professor, you mentioned the aspect of community. And also from the lady from Cairo also mentioned something around bringing people together from all walks of life, having communities. There are people from our communities who don't even understand what innovation is. They don't understand circular economy. They don't understand green economy, right? So when we have them in such kind of gathering, then it helps them to understand, and when they go out there in the community, they're able to implement what they have learned. So I also concur us having different stakeholders in one gathering, sharing ideas, and also resocializing. Because in other words, you find that the academia, you're always in your own circle, right? You find that researchers, they're also in their own circle. I think it is high time we break that barrier and we come together and see what we can do together for the benefit of our society. So what do you think could be the role communities can play in building an inclusive and a sustainable innovation ecosystem? What do you think our communities can do to build a sustainable, inclusive innovation ecosystem? There's a hand over there, please. Someone can just take the mic.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Mumanyi from Egerton University. I want first of all to appreciate, as I answer the question, that Egerton University has been a focal innovation only that it has not been known. And I take note that quite a number of the people who have taken speeches here are alumni from Egerton University. That is very remarkable. And I also wish to say that a lot of concentration that we have had from morning and from before is from the supply side. How do we supply the innovation to the market? And even the industry that we have talked about is basically the industry from the point of view that they can facilitate the processing of the innovations from the universities. From the economics point of view, we actually dealt with exhaustively, or not nearly exhaustively, from the supply point of view of the innovation. There remains another part which we have dealt with partially, and that is from the point of view of the consumer, which I'm partially saying from the point of view of the consumer, in the sense that what do we do so that the innovations that we do are consumed, or they are driven also from the point of view of the demand side, which we look at it from the point of view what opportunities are there and what gaps are there, so that we can deal with them. From the point of view of the consumer or from the industry, that there should be activities, say from the industries that we have, from the corporations that we have, policy statement that will kind of whip. Give an example of Kenya breweries. They are spending money on innovation within the industry. How can the policy statement whip those industries such that they can be forced to go to the universities for solutions? At the same time, how can they be forced also to link up? Because it is very difficult. How do we create an environment, a market? I could have asked, where is the market that we can go and see it? Like we have a market for cattle in back home. Where can we go for the market where somebody will come? I'm looking for this kind of innovation before I start working for another one, so that we can be able to supply those innovations. Because such kind of policy statement will create an environment where innovations are done which are relevant to the market. As we struggle that way, I think we will be able to sort out most of the solutions that are locally solutions innovations for local innovations for local solutions that we have. Giving an example of in Kenya, we had a policy which was saying, buy Kenya, build Kenya. How can we have such a policy that we can be able to create a market for locally innovated solutions? I think that's the far I can say in my contribution.
Thank you very much for those powerful insights. I like the fact that he also asked a question on, yes, we innovate, but where is the market? Professor. Someone to share the mic with Professor, please.
Devin, thank you. I had raised my hand earlier, but I think it was a bit short.
My apologies.
I just want to add, because that's what I had in mind before my colleague from Egerton talked, to give just a little perspective on the relevance of innovation based on need. And I'll talk about the China's building of the Hong Kong-Macau bridge. It is one of the new wonders Now, according to CGTN report, more than 1,000 innovations, patents were registered on innovation related to construction of the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge. The patents cover a wide range of technical breakthroughs related to construction of the bridges, artificial islands, the issue of roofing materials, drilling technology, reclamation, prefabrication techniques, both jacking, where they could build the railway, the bridge, when the railway is under the railway, which is functioning, environmental friendly systems, tunneling advancements, and it goes on and on and on. Over 1,000 patents were done. To me, that is what you call demand-driven innovation. And I feel, members, that probably our biggest link, or our biggest weakness, as we talk about is innovation, is the demand side of the innovation. The demand side. I would take, for example, a simple thing like the specs I wear, and quite a few of us here actually, no, only Ogutu doesn't have specs. So 100% of the people here are in specs. A fairly expensive commodity. But I wonder how many universities in this country are doing optical glass research. We have had very beautiful cameras. You can see already, as I point, it points back. That's the power of optics. And the question I ask, who are doing optical research so that we can build our own telescopes, we can build our own specs, our own binoculars? Because those who have need, there will be need for specs. There will be need for other things. Let me give you a little more. I don't know how many of you know where Liechtenstein is geographically. But Liechtenstein is a country whose length is not more than 40 kilometers. It's actually less than 40 kilometers. And the width is less than 14 kilometers. So it's actually a town in Europe, lying somewhere between Germany, I think, and France and Switzerland. Now, it produces 10%, 20% of global dental solutions. The dental seats, the dentures, and all those things that are required for our old age. And I'm not sure, I hope all of us will be candidates by the time we hit 90, 100. So there's a sure market for dentures. There's a sure market for dental chairs. They give 20% of that global solution and 40% in Europe. That's innovation. So the demand to innovate in dental activities becomes a real demand because there is consumption. Take grass, Kenya imports 100% of the flat grass. So this beautiful grass that's covering all this country is imported. And you go out, the beach is full of sand. So the question is, are we offering solutions for things that we actually need? Because I believe if we are talking about innovation, let's first of all deal with what we are requiring to use our money for, what we are buying. Because if you take what is we are importing, is what we can easily construct or easily innovate. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Let's appreciate him. I think we are really getting it there. We are asking the questions that need to be asked, actually. Are we innovating to solve the actual problems? And that is one of the things I can assure you, some of us who are in the entrepreneurship support organizations, that's one of the questions that we come across every time we do coaching, we innovate, but are we meeting the demands of the consumers? It's like I saw a hand somewhere behind there. Please, if you want. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Professor Philip Raburu, DPCE Planning Research and Extension, University of Eldoret, currently presenting my VC. I also want to maybe just to highlight a few things, maybe just to reinforce also some of the issues that have come up. First and foremost, which has come up, is the issue of policy. I think there needs to be a complete change in the way we look at things, particularly culturally. We do not seem to have this innovative culture, or rather the culture of innovation. And the silos aspect which was talked about. And also we need to realize, because I think when I have attended some of these the presentations that were made by KeNIA, it was very clear, abundantly clear, that there are very, very few innovations by professors. The bulk of the profession, of those who innovate are in the TVETs and the bachelor's level. And that's why that question which was talking about the TVETs was very critical, because that's where the bulk is. I've been privileged to attend some of their innovation weeks and skills and whatnot. They have far much more, because their courses are also really practical, more practical than the university. We are not doing a lot of practical, in most universities, because of the resources and things like that. But I think the young minds, something should be done to make sure that we inculcate that innovative culture in them when they are young. Most universities here, you'll tell me, those who have innovation weeks, I know we have it, we've done it for almost the last 5 years. Nairobi University can tell us, I don't know how they see it, and other universities. When you have even such weeks within the university, the number of people who come, the students who come, are very minimal. The number of lecturers and even professors, some of them also just think that, okay, that is a few students who are showing something. So there is that problem of culture, and that must be intentional for us to change that if we are to look at the growth and change of innovations in universities. Number two, there is something that we must also not forget about. What we can do also, like what I've just said, can't we conduct some survey and also try to do a lot of awareness creation, so that we can get to know why? Because there are no jobs in the country, and yet innovations which brings a lot of jobs, you don't see people enthusiastic about them. You get our students who have done, for example, business management. Some of them have done very, very good courses, even projects, whatever it is. There are some of the projects where they are being taught about how to do this. But since they are not compulsory, Kenyans would like to pass exams and go away. So if we can change that narrative, then you'll find that we may have more innovations coming which are very relevant. Next is the issue of there needs to be an affirmative action by the government, because just as much as we are also struggling to get more innovations, there is a trend that is going on in our universities. I think most of us who are here would attest to that. In the last few years, there's a very minimal number of students doing agriculture, doing environmental courses, doing natural resource management courses. That number is very low and is going low in most of our universities. Maybe a few, maybe one or two, a few that may have good numbers, but the bulk of the numbers are going down. Why? Because students, once the jobs, the courses, what they do will they'll get a job. And unfortunately, or really not unfortunately, because of lack of guidance and also affirmative action, so many of them, when they come to the universities, the bulk of the students are going for education, because teaching, they will be employed. But data that is there right now shows that over 400,000 teachers who have trained, who are outside there, maybe not clear on the figure, but roughly there, have not been employed and they are waiting outside there. You get to all our universities, you find that the bulk of the students, some of the universities, about 50 to 60% are doing education and not getting involved in this. A time is going to reach when we will not have anybody, even, innovations in the fields of where food production and food security, because none of them, they're not going for agriculture. They are not going for natural resource management courses. So some of these things, we really need to look at them early, and I think KeNIA should help us, and as well as some of the government institutions, so that there can be affirmative action. And that affirmative action in the long run may help us so that we can do that. Somewhere else where there should be affirmative action is that research to be done together. That is, the government should come with those agendas or those areas which require intervention or where we require innovations, so that the university should know them, the industry should know them. And if we also have trust, because there's no trust. Our colleagues who are in the government who have masters and PhD, they believe they are better than lecturers. Lecturers also believe they are better than the people in the government because they are more rigorous than that side. And so working together, they are not working together very well. These are areas we need affirmative action, particularly as we deal with the issue of issues of innovations, so that people can work together. In the development world, agendas are raised, and those agendas, the universities sort them together with the industries. They research together and come up with solutions. Last but not least is curriculum. I think most of the first world universities, there are some universities now, if you go in the first world, you find that every course is being looked at as a business. If whatever course you are doing, it's a business, so that you can come up with something. And I think if you also look at that, we may borrow from Strathmore. I heard the Strathmore presenting something here which we don't have. But that is maybe a way that could help. We have so many students who are doing business in all these our universities. Even if you just take business alone, that every business student must come up with an innovation before they graduate. They will come up with it. But there is no affirmative action. Or rather, the curriculum does not support that. And so at the end of it, you get somebody who has done a very good business course cannot even start a business. And those who are doing innovations, who come up with innovations, may come from different areas. So I think those are some of the things that I wanted to say, I wanted to bring up, that let us see how we can intentionally, let's not just talk about curriculum here. I think after talking, we need to sit down, the universities and the regulatory bodies on curriculum issues, government and universities and even the TVETs and whatever, so that people can work together. But otherwise, if we are still in silos, like one of my sisters was saying, that silos is still going to destroy us because you're noted very well. We are here, the TVETs were invited, but they doesn't seem to be part of this. They are just, maybe they're just, what do you call them? These ones who escort people in a wedding. That's flower girls. Yeah? And yet they also have, there are things, so a lot of things that are going down there. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you so very much. So I'll just take 3 more. Let's start with this lady here, please, and then you'll be next, and lastly, the lady over there, so that we get to action plan, and then we go for our dinner. Karibu.
Thank you very much. I'm Professor Priska Tuitoek, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Murang'a University of Technology. Mine is to just build on what others have already talked about. The issue of publish and or perish. I think we should move a step further. And that will mean changing a few things in terms of promotion criteria and things like that. Resocializing ourselves, and especially as a friend of mine came from China recently, and he told me almost, okay, maybe where he was, but he said almost every family and every little place, people have got some kind of innovation that they are doing, or businesses that they are doing. For example, they can just say this family or this community will be producing maybe a bottle top or something. And it seems like, people are doing things. So that's what I'm saying, socializing ourselves from the beginning, from even our childhood. There is also another issue that probably it has not been mentioned on the issue of government. We saw our supermarkets filling with produce and innovations or things that we are selling in the supermarkets, up to even a toothpick coming from another country. Now we seem to be getting furniture from other countries, and they are glittering in our offices. Why can't we say something like, buy Kenya, build Kenya? Is there a way that our government can say, a certain percentage of, especially public institutions, we should buy things that are made in Kenya? We have a lot of furniture, for example, that are made, within Kenya, and we make them even in our own universities. Murang'a University, most of our furniture is made within the university. We make, furniture, most of our furniture. So I'm just thinking that there could be something that the government, maybe a policy, to say, I think even, for example, there is a time that the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, said every Friday or every once a week, you should wear Kenyan made. And actually we did it. And some of us are still keeping to it. So if you do that, you will be selling more, and we'll be encouraging ourselves to innovate. So I would like to also mention about the environment in the university. How are we encouraging our innovators? I wanted to have asked a question for those who came from the universities. How much does how much goes to the university from whatever they earned from their innovations? So we may need to even benchmark with the rest of the world. What are they doing to encourage innovators to do that within the institutions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this is coming direct from the Kenyan perspective. And I know in the room we have delegates from Ghana. I don't know whether you share the same sentiments. Rwanda, Ethiopia,
I think if you could have time, you could just share in a minute or so about that. I think specifically that was in Kenya. How do you promote innovation in your countries, right? Absolutely. So let's hear from you, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Standing once more, I'm Fred Ododa from Ceil National Polytechnic TVET Institution. I practically want to give what happens in the TVET institution concerning innovations. Prof here has elaborated what happens in TVET. In TVET, we have several platforms to showcase our innovations, to come up with these innovative ideas that are supported with the within the research departments and also from the administration. One, this has been started by the curriculum development. Our curriculum is practical based and it is hands-on on every aspect of the training. So you'll find out that most of our trainees, whenever they're developing and coming up with they're being trained on different skill areas, they're being trained practically. And then this makes it very easy for them to be able to showcase any innovation ideas they have. This curriculum development right now, we are doing competency-based education and training, which has gone further ahead to modularization of the competency-based curriculum. And that aspect alone helps these particular trainees to be able to acquire skills in different areas, but they are in line with the industry needs, hence addressing the industry gaps within the industry market, labor market. So that is one of the aspects, the industry curriculum-based alignment. And another aspect that we also address this innovation issue is on, we have different avenues like TVET Fair, we have conferences that brings all the TVET institutions together. Like for example, in the next 2 weeks, there will be TVET fairs. So in these TVET fairs, all TVET institutions comes together with all their developed innovations. They're able to showcase these innovative ideas through these fairs, these conferences, and from that, they're able to be to bring them out. But there is only one challenge that I may also sincerely request the organizers, the KeNIA also to may come in. How do you support these TVET institutions? How do we bring them on board? How do we collaborate and partner with these TVET institutions so that we can also be able to tap this hidden potential within the TVET institution? And then again, they can also be able to partner with the different universities and also do great things together. So that is my humble plea so that we can see how to bring these TVET institutions on board for innovation to succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we had a lady over there, right? So it's good we hear from Ethiopia, Ghana. Awesome. So before you speak, there was a lady here, and then we'll wind up with you in a short while. So let's hear.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nekesa Wafula, and I work for CGIR, Accelerate for Impact Platform, an initiative from the Alliance of Biodiversity International and CIAT. So I'm very happy, first of all, to see a lot of researchers in one room. It's a rare occasion, especially doctors. So I have 3 points. One is on, are we looking at mapping the stakeholders within the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem? Because it would really be helpful to know who is within this ecosystem, who is doing what, and what strengths are there so that we can tap into each other. I like that they've brought in the aspect of the platform, but I logged in, it's yet to be active. I can't see the other people within that platform, so maybe they can activate that and also more information about the people on the platform. The other thing is looking at how, just sharing the experience of CGIAR, how we work with the end users, that's the community level. There was a mention about the human-centered design, just looking at staying with them, going to the ground to understand what do farmers need, what are the gaps on the ground before we come up with projects and even innovations that would really be impactful at the farmer level. We do this also with the project I work with directly for innovation challenges, where we bring on board stakeholders and they're able to validate some of the assumptions we have. You know, before anything is realistic, it has to be validated. So whatever we do as desktop research has to be validated by stakeholders, including farmers who use the technologies that we roll out. So that's one thing that I would really need us to look at in terms of, even before we initiate anything, are we going to talk to the real stakeholders, the people who are the end users of the innovations that we are using? And then finally, looking at, I've seen a lot of business students can create innovations. It's a good thing. We've had some small chit chats on our table, and we are looking at, there are also these science students. It's not just about the business students, but there are science students who are coming up, they're the innovators. They might not be really interested in getting into business, but how can we collaboratively bring these teams on board, start venture building at the university level? So those are the things that I can share right now.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for being brief. We appreciate that. So over to our friends from Ethiopia. Yeah, and then we followed by Rwanda.
Thank you
Ghana.
for the opportunity. It's good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, if you are feeling old, you have to come to Ethiopia today. We are celebrating our new year. It is September 1, 2018. So you will be 7 years or 8 years younger. Okay. When we come to, I am Tashoma Daniel. I am head for research commercialization, technology transfer in the academia industry partnership in the federal government of Ethiopia. We have been evaluating research commercialization as a homegrown opportunity for development. But what we have evaluated is that we cannot move forward funding commercialization from grant only. So we have established two major policies. We call it proclamation in our country. Maybe you can say it's as an act. It's the second highest or most powerful legal framework next to Constitution. One is the Startup Act. In this Startup Act, we have brought many reform agendas to support startups and university commercializations. One is risk financing. So the government of Ethiopia committed to risk finance the startups, especially in a prototype level from university. So once they are designated as a startup, the government will contribute the commercialization money. So that is done by National Development Bank, which is a policy bank but owned by the government of Ethiopia. That is the other thing. The next one is commercializations will be grown further by private sector. So university might do the prototype, but mass production comes always by private sector and industry. So that we have developed Academia Industry Partnership Act, which in this couple of years we are doing in these areas. In the Academia Industry Partnership Act, it covers a lot of areas, but one is incentivizing the private industry through insurance, through wage levy, through tax exemption. So once if you benchmark many industries in Asian countries, these industries have developed by parallel research and development. So we are going to exempt from the tax payment for research and development activities of the private sector. The other is our professors know the science of 10 or 20 years while they were a student. They don't really engage with the community. So that we have revised 38 years old curriculum for integrating, vocationalizing the TVET to high schools. So our students start to have level 1 vocational education starting from high school. So if they don't want to join university, so they have a level 1 skill, level 2 skill, automatically they will start to level 4, and they join the labor market immediately with capability. So there are a lot of things I can mention, but due to the time, we have the website of Ministry of Education. You can find these 2 proclamations, and then also as option you can find from the Ministry of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Innovation and Technology Ministry website. So we are doing a lot of issues to move forward with commercialization and research and technology output commercialization. To 2 or 30 seconds to thank RISA. Right? We have been starting this reform since 2021. Now, a couple of years, RISA has joined to support the innovation ecosystem, and it's like a fuel to increase our reform, especially this innovation and commercialization ecosystem. Please join me on thanking RISA.
Thank you very much. I think there's a lot that we can borrow from Ethiopia, that we can see whether it can work here in Kenya. But I think what he has mentioned, and looking at what even our country is doing, it's almost the same thing, but I don't know where the problem or the gap is. That is where I fail to understand. But I think we are almost doing similar stuff. We need to find out where the problem is. Back to our brother from Ghana.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sylvia Nyako, and I work at the University of Ghana Business School. So I just wanted to comment on the question asked about how TVET and universities can collaborate. And I want to share what we are doing at in the University of Ghana on the project called Higher Education Institute and TVET Collider. So I don't know how the situation is in East Africa, but in Ghana, when it comes to TVETs, and the traditional universities, there's this perception about their strength and skills. So we are using this collider to bring students from TVETs and higher education for them to collaborate and work on innovation and entrepreneurship by leveraging on both strengths. Because we realize that TVET have this practical and facilities and all that, and universities or traditional universities are known to be very theoretical. So we want them to work together, leverage on their strength, and come out with a business idea that solves a particular problem, while they also build each other's confidence and appreciate what both universities or institutions bring on the table. And through that, we're also going to form the VIP, which is more like a framework for us to understand the dynamics of TVET, so that we can use the skills that we learned from another RISA funded a project called Brink. So we're going to leverage on the learnings from that to get into the TVET dynamics, so that we can scale this collaboration, we can appreciate the TVET and universities as well. And on that, I'm using this opportunity to invite all of us coming December. We are launching the RIS conference, which is Regional Innovation Synergies, so that all these things from higher institution to TVET to tech transfer, we can showcase this and then we can pick it up from there. Thank you very much. And thanks to RISA as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. She has spoken on behalf of Ghana.
Sure. Thank you very much. So I will speak more on the policy side. So what we are doing, my name is Julius Lamte, and I work with Impact Investing Ghana as a Senior Research and Policy Officer. I also lead the Ghana Research and Industry Collaborative. So the approach is that we are trying to encourage stakeholders, more importantly, in the industry stakeholders, to work with researchers and also innovators. One of the ways that we have done is through the industry brief sessions. So by that, we are now reaching out to the stakeholders to let them know that these are the innovations that are out there. And then if you are interested, then we try to work with you, address the issues of the research translation, the uptake in terms of the technology transfer, the IP, and then we move on onto the financing aspect. Speaking on this broader aspect, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology is now working with one of the associations in Ghana to organize biannual environment, science and technology. So this is also re-echoing the growing concern that we need to work together with industry in order to offtake these innovations. And just also to say that on the side of policy, government is also looking at ways that it's not only about policy, but then there is action. So there is one policy being designed around this research commercialization and also regulation, such that the tax exemptions and then all the benefits that if an industry person would want to offtake an innovation, they get to enjoy. So this is what I would want to add to the team, and also to say a very big thank you to Raisa for supporting us.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being patient. I know it has really taken a lot of patience for you to be here up to this hour, so we really appreciate you. And thank you so much for everyone who has contributed in this discussion. And it's my prayer that we are going to take it to the government, to stakeholders, to our communities, to our universities, so that we are able to implement the conversations that we've had. So a quick recap from what we are picking from this conversation that I feel we can take it forward. One is for us to work on our policy. Let's keep pushing for better policies that will enhance commercialization. The next thing is for us to stop working in silos. Let's collaborate, network, bring all people together so that we can facilitate a conducive environment for entrepreneurship to thrive. And we can also do a culture shift amongst ourselves to advance entrepreneurship. And also we need to spearhead for affirmative action to protect and to also advance research and also collaborate with other different stakeholders. And again, before we're embarking on anything else, what we are taking home, we need to do stakeholder mapping that will help us understand the actual problems that are existing and how we can build better solutions for our communities. Right about now, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to be upstanding as we wrap it and head for our dinner. Please, let's appreciate ourselves as we stand up. And I want us to do this very quickly. So I want you to think of what is that one thing that you are carrying home today in one word, okay? So stand up and I want us to shout. As we shout, we wrap it up and we all head for dinner. That one thing that you are taking home today, what is it? Just one word, okay? So I want us to be silent for a second and then I want us to shout, all right? The one word that summarizes what you have learned today in this day one of our summit. Are we together? The media team, are you ready? Okay, so in most cases I'm used to doing this for entrepreneurs. Now requesting professors, doctors, students in the room and every stakeholder, please, let's just do it. It's also for fun and for learning purposes. Are we together? All right, so when I count 3, 2, 1, we all shout that one thing that we have learned in summary, okay? Just one word, not a sentence. 3, 2, 1. You've tried. One more time. 3, 2, 1, shout! Amazing. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have yourselves a wonderful evening.
All right. Thank you so much, Makofi and Daylin. Thank you. I don't know whether you heard the word I said I have learned today. For me, it was TVETs, because that is the next big thing for us. So now, I hope you remember the directions to the cocktail. You exit via the hotel reception, head downwards to the pool area, proceed to the stairs that will take you downstairs. So now, just before the music goes up and before we change our modalities, we still have tea.